Chapter 1053, The Disheveled Old Man's Dilemma, 3. After she entered the bracelet, Len Ruoshua brought the disheveled old man to the purple bamboo house. "You can tell me now, right?" Len Ruoshua chuckled. Seeing the disheveled old man's grave expression, she wondered if there was something important that he was embarrassed to say. "Little girl, just now His Excellency Lu Feng was looking for me," the disheveled old man said. "Yes, I know." Len Ruoshua nodded and waited for the disheveled old man to continue. However, she already had a rough idea that this matter was probably related to Lu Feng. "His Excellency Lu Feng wants to take me as his disciple," the disheveled old man added. "Hee, that's a good thing. Why are you so conflicted?" Len Ruoshua said, amused. She had heard from her cheap old ancestor that Lu Feng's position in the Craftsman's Guild was only second to the guild leader and Mo Yen. If the disheveled old man could have such a master, it would be equivalent to having a huge backing. Hence, she was very supportive of this. But, the disheveled old man was a little hesitant. "But what? Could it be that your previous sect doesn't allow you to acknowledge a master?" Len Ruoshua guessed. "No. It's just that His Excellency Lu Feng told me that the level of my life flame is too low. Even if I become his master, my future achievements will not be too high. He originally did not intend to accept me, but after getting along with me for some time, he had a good impression of me, so he finally decided to accept me as his disciple," the disheveled old man explained. "And then?" Len Ruoshua raised her brows slightly and waited for the disheveled old man to continue. She believed that Lu Feng had a motive for saying this. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M, he said that there is a way to increase the level of the life flame. However, that method is very painful and not something that can be endured by ordinary people. He asked me if I was willing to give it a try and asked me to think about it. The disheveled old man continued. "If you don't want to try, he won't take you as a disciple?" Len Ruoshua probed. No matter if I want to try or not, he will still take me as his disciple," the disheveled old man hurriedly explained so as not to let this girl misunderstand. In fact, Sir Lu Feng only said those words to him after he had taken him in, and Sir Lu Feng had no intention of forcing him. "Then what do you think?" Len Ruoshua could not help but ask. Now, she finally understood the disheveled old man's dilemma. This disheveled old man was probably a little tempted by Lu Feng's method. However, he was also a little uneasy, which was why he wanted to discuss it with her. However, she could understand. After all, with the disheveled old man's passion for refining weapons, he would definitely not be willing to stop at this stage. Becoming a weapon god was definitely every weapon refiner's dream. "The method you mentioned is called divine flame body tempering. It's extremely dangerous, but the success rate is very low. That's why I'm afraid," the disheveled old man stopped halfway through his sentence. However, he had conveyed his intentions to Len Ruoshua. He wanted to try it, but he was a little afraid. He was afraid that he would never see them again. "I don't really understand this divine flame body tempering, so I can't give you any good suggestions. I'll go and see if Master left behind any records regarding the divine flame body tempering. I'll give you some suggestions later." After Len Ruoshua heard the disheveled old man's words, she pondered for a moment before replying. Yes. The disheveled old man nodded hurriedly. The girl was their backbone. Therefore, even though he was not young anymore, he was willing to discuss anything with the girl if he could not make a decision. With that, Len Ruoxua's thoughts turned and she went to the weapon refining room in the purple bamboo house to look for related records. Len Ruoxua flipped through many of the records left behind by her master. However, she did not find any records regarding divine flame body tempering. Seeing this, Len Ruoxua could not help but feel suspicious. She then summoned Green Vessel. "Sister, what's the matter?" Qing Ju appeared in front of Len Ruoxua and said. "Green Vessel, have you heard of divine flame body tempering?" Len Ruoxua asked directly. "Let me think." Qing-ju furrowed his brows and started to think seriously. Arg! I remember now. After a while, Qing-ju suddenly called out and disappeared. Not long after, Green Vessel reappeared in the void with a book in his hand. Big sister, it's up there. Qing-ju passed the book in his hand to Leng Ruoxue. Leng Ruoxue looked at the old, yellowed book in her hands and could not help but mutter to herself. If this book was in her previous world, it would definitely be extremely ancient. However, it must have been here for quite a few years. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M. After that, she opened the book and carefully read the records about divine fire body tempering. After reading it, Leng Ruoxue immediately went to look for the disheveled old man. At this moment, the disheveled old man was sitting on the stone chair in front of the purple bamboo house, waiting for her. When he saw Leng Ruoxue coming out of the purple bamboo house, he went up to her anxiously. Little girl, how is it? The disheveled old man asked hurriedly. At this moment, he really needed other people's opinions. However, he did not dare to ask Ling Qingtian and the others, because he knew that those old men would definitely not agree to him taking the risk. Disheveled old man, body tempering with divine fire has existed for a very long time in the divine realm. Moreover, tens of thousands of years ago, this method was very common. Many weapon and alchemy masters would use it if they wanted to achieve greater achievements. However, the success rate of using this method to increase the grade of their natal flame is rather low. In the light case, they might go into chi deviation, and in the serious case, their lives might be in danger. Leng Ruoxue explained in a soft voice. Of course, she had read about this in the book. As for what would happen if she used this method, she could only ask Lu Feng and Mo Yen. I know, Master Lu Feng has told me about it. Girl, you know that refining is more important than my life. I also want to have greater achievements. I want to be able to refine divine weapons. This is my biggest dream. The disheveled old man said seriously. I'll go talk to Lu Feng. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly when she saw how serious the disheveled old man was. Actually, after reading the records in the book, she did not really want the disheveled old man to take the risk. However, she had never seen the disheveled old man so serious before. Hence, she could not bring herself to stop him. After bringing the disheveled old man out of the bangle, Leng Ruoxue bade farewell to the crowd and went to look for Lu Feng. Lu Feng seemed to have been prepared for this. When he saw Leng Ruoxue, he greeted her with great enthusiasm. Chapter 1054, The Disheveled Old Man's Dilemma. 4. It's so rare for little fox to come and find me. I'm overwhelmed by your favor. In the room, Lu Feng laughed and teased. Stop pretending. You know what I'm here for, right? Leng Ruoxue did not waste any time and went straight to the point. Yes, Mo Yen told me that you're their backbone, so I guessed that the old man would discuss it with you. Lu Feng said. Lu Feng, what do you mean? You clearly know that this method is life-threatening, yet you still want to tell him. Leng Ruoxue scolded angrily. Little girl, we're all very clear about the disheveled old man's passion for weapon refinement. I just don't want him to have any regrets. Besides, I didn't force him. Lu Feng said innocently. He had already explained the dangers of divine flame body tempering to the rotten old man, and told him to think carefully and not make a decision easily. Then how confident are you that you'll succeed in this method of increasing the grade of your life flame? Leng Ruoxue asked directly. This method has existed since ancient times. However, the success rate is not high, so I'm not too sure if he will succeed. At most, I'll say 10%. Lu Feng thought for a moment and said. Divine flame body tempering actually meant to absorb divine flames into one's body and use a special technique to fuse divine flames for one's own use. However, there weren't many divine flames in nature at the moment, so it was unknown if one could find one. 10%. Damn it, do you want to take his life? Leng Ruoxue was a little angry. This damn Lu Feng was really too irresponsible. Looking at Lu Feng's infuriating appearance, she really wanted to beat him up. Actions speak louder than words. As Leng Ruoxue was thinking, she had already released the divine energy in her hands. Please keep reading on MYB0xn0VL, arg. You violent woman. Why did they start fighting? Lu Feng said loudly in a depressed tone. He was not prepared for Leng Ruoxue's attack and was unfortunately injured. Sob. He was injured by a profound deity. If this news were to spread, he would be a laughing stock. Humph. If I don't teach you a good lesson. My surname isn't Leng. Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. However, she did not delay in throwing the divine skills in her hands at Lu Feng. In an instant, Lu Feng was in a sorry state. The decorations in the room were also swept by Leng Ruoxue's divine skills, turning into a mess. When Mo Yen and Lu Yu came to look for Lu Feng, they happened to see this scene. Instantly, the two of them were dumbfounded. What was going on? Why were the two of them fighting? Moreover, looking at Lu Feng's appearance, he was actually forced to the point where he couldn't fight back by a profound deity. He was only concerned with hiding here and there, jumping left and right. Stop! Mo Yen couldn't help but shout as he looked at the tattered room. Arg! Mo Yen! Save me! This little pervert is too scary, Wu, Lu Feng said with a face full of fear. Then, he pounced towards Mo Yen. Damn it, get down! Mo Yen looked at Lu Feng, who was clinging to him like an octopus, and his forehead was covered with black lines. He couldn't help but shout. I won T. This little pervert wants to kill me. I'm so scared. Lu Feng said with lingering fear, hugging Mo Yen even tighter. Leng Ruoxue looked at Lu Feng's actions speechlessly. She retracted the divine skill in her hand and thought to herself, is this really the noble-looking Sir Lu Feng? It couldn't have been switched, right? When she thought of this, her beautiful eyes could not help but drift to Lu Yue. However, Lu Yue had an I don't know him expression on her face, and she even put some distance between her and Mo Yen to prove her words. At this time, Lu Feng had also been forcefully pulled down from his body by Mo Yen. Lu Feng fearfully looked at Mo Yan's darkened face, feeling wronged. He didn't do it on purpose, it was just an instinctive reaction. Little girl, why are you two fighting? Mo Yen said speechlessly. At the same time, his bright black eyes kept staring at Lu Feng. Damn it, it wasn't enough to lose face alone, he even had to drag him into it. He told the disheveled old man that there's a way to upgrade his natal flame. However, there's only a 10% chance of success. Leng Ruoxue explained calmly. At the same time, her beautiful eyes glared at Mo Yen. These three men were all wearing the same pair of pants, so she didn't believe that Mo Yen and Lu Yue didn't know anything. Little girl, although divine flame body tempering has a certain amount of risk, it varies from person to person. If one's will is firm, the success rate is still very high. I'm just afraid that during the fusion process, the person who fuses will not be able to withstand the pain and all previous efforts will be wasted. Mo Yen explained patiently. That's right. Besides, it's not easy to find a divine fire now. If we can't find one, even if the disheveled old man wants to temper his body, he won't have the chance. Lu Feng also interrupted. You shut up. Leng Ruoxue and Mo Yen shouted at the same time, sharing the same hatred. Right now, both of them did not like Lu Feng at all. Chapter 1055, Moonhowl Volcano, 1, You guys actually ganged up to bully me, Wu, I'm so pitiful. Big brother. Lu Feng looked at Lu Yu with tears in his eyes, wanting to seek comfort. However, Lu Yu rolled her eyes at him and jumped 10 meters away from him, so that he wouldn't cling onto him like he did to Mo Yen. Is there no way to increase the success rate? Leng Ruoxue ignored Lu Feng's teasing and asked again. No. If you want to improve the level of your life flame, you can only rely on a firm will. Little girl, I can see that the old man's will is still very firm, and his mind is also very calm. So, his chances of success are still very high. Mo Yen said after thinking for a while. He knew that it was useless for anyone to say such a risky thing. Only the people involved could decide for themselves, and the disheveled old man obviously listened to this little girl. Therefore, only by convincing this little girl could the disheveled old man possibly undergo the divine fire body tempering. Do you also wish for the disheveled old man to undergo divine fire body tempering? Len Ruoxue said. That's right. The disheveled old man is very talented in weapon refinement. I don't want his achievements to be limited by flames. Mo Yen said honestly. For alchemists and blacksmiths, the level of their natal flames also determined their future achievements. This was the prerequisite, and the acquired condition depended on how hard they worked. Otherwise, even if they had a divine flame, they would not be able to become an outstanding blacksmithing master. Let's discuss this matter. Len Ruoxue said after some hesitation. She knew that this matter was extremely important to the disheveled old man, so she didn't dare to make a decision for him easily. However, opportunities and danger often came together. Hence, if he wanted to have greater achievements, he couldn't be afraid of anything. Yes. Mo Yen nodded. They should indeed be careful about this matter. I'll go back first. Remember to come over for dinner tonight. Len Ruoxue reminded him again. With that, she turned and left Lu Feng's room. After Len Ruoxue left, Lu Feng patted his chest in fear and said with a panicked expression, that girl is really too scary. She's so violent. It's a good thing you guys came. Otherwise, I would have lost my life. She won't kill you, don't worry. Mo Yen rolled his eyes at Lu Feng and said. Ah. I'm just afraid that she'll slip up. Lu Feng said awkwardly. By the way, do you guys think they'll agree to let the disheveled old man undergo divine fire body tempering? Lu Feng asked curiously. The relationship between those people wasn't shallow, so he was afraid that they wouldn't be willing to let the disheveled old man take the risk. They will. True friends will respect other people's choices and won't interfere too much. Mo Yen said with certainty. The little girl and the others would definitely respect the old man's choice. Oh. Lu Feng was relieved when he saw Mo Yan's confidence. After all, he had hoped that the disheveled old man would agree. After Len Ruoxue returned to her residence, she did not mention this matter to anyone and her expression remained the same. However, when no one was paying attention, the demon pulled her back to her room and started asking her questions. Shui, what's wrong? The demon asked worriedly. Shui had gone to look for Lu Feng, but when she came back, she was very calm. This made him feel that something was wrong. Len Ruoxue knew that she couldn't hide it from this observant evildoer, so she told him everything. After the evildoer finished listening, he frowned and pondered for a long while before he spoke. Although this method has a certain risk, I think it's worth a try. Moreover, with our help, he will definitely succeed. You agree? Len Ruoxue raised her brows and asked in surprise. Shui, this is the old man's business after all. If we don't agree, we'll put him in a difficult position. Look at how conflicted he is. It's not that he's afraid of danger, but that he wants our support. To put it bluntly, he's afraid that we won't agree. The demon chuckled as he analyzed. He believed that Shui would understand this, but Shui was more cautious. You're right. I'm just afraid that Grandpa and the others will object. Len Ruoxue spoke the truth. She had always respected the choice of the person involved. However, her grandfather and the others had a very close relationship with the disheveled old man. They would probably not be willing to let him take the risk. Shui, you can't hide this from grandfather and the others. The demon warned. If he really didn't let those old men know, he and Shui would be in deep trouble. Okay. I'll talk to Grandpa and the others about it after dinner. Len Ruoxue nodded. She had no intention of hiding this from her grandfather and the others. "All right," he said. The demon nodded and the two of them left the room. As evening approached, Len Ruoxue and the others prepared dinner and sent someone to invite Mo Yen and the other two. After the meal, both the host and the guests had a great time. Everyone had a great time eating and drank a lot of wine. After the meal, it was almost midnight. Len Ruoxue sent someone to send Mo Yen and the other two back, then led everyone into the bracelet. Because the disheveled old man was happy, he had drunk quite a lot of wine. As a result, he was in a daze from his sleep. While he was asleep, Len Ruoxue took the opportunity to tell her grandfather and the others about this matter. However, as she had expected, her grandfather and the others objected to it. We can't let him do whatever he wants. What if there's danger? Ling Qingtian said disapprovingly. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm, Grandpa, although there will be some danger in this, if this is the old man's wish, I think we should support him. Besides, Mo Yen also said that the success of this method depends on the old man's heart, and we all know the old man's heart, so his chances of success should be very high. Len Ruoxue tried to convince the crowd. What if there's really danger? That old thing has been bickering with me for almost a lifetime. I don't want anything to happen to him. The old man said. Without risks, there won't be opportunities. Although there's a certain level of danger, the disheveled old man might succeed. You should know how passionate the disheveled old man is about refining weapons. Len Ruoxue continued. After hearing Len Ruoxue's words, the few old men fell silent. After a long while, Ling Qingtian spoke again, since that old man has this idea, then let him try. Ling Qingtian compromised. The other old men also saw him as a benchmark. When they saw that he had agreed, they nodded their heads unwillingly. Chapter 1056, Moonhowl Volcano, 2. Since everyone has come to an agreement, I will go find Mo Yen and Lu Feng tomorrow. Len Ruoxue said after some thought. You have to think of a way to minimize the risk. Ling Qingtian reminded. Don't worry, I will. Len Ruoxue promised. The next day. Len Ruoxue then went to look for Mo Yen and Lu Feng to discuss this matter in detail. After that, the group left Fiery City together, and Lu Feng naturally followed them. In Lu Feng's words, he had to accompany his disciple to find the divine fire, while Mo Yen had to stay in Fiery City temporarily. After all, there were still some things to take care of at the Craftsman's Guild. So, he had to stay after Lu Feng left. Otherwise, the Craftsman's Guild would be ruined by Yin Rume. After they left Fiery City, Len Ruoxue looked at the fork in the road and asked Lu Feng, "Where are we going?" "There's the biggest volcano on the godly mainland. Let's go there and take a look." Flowing Wind said after some thought. Normally, the most likely places to find a divine fire were in volcanoes. Although there were many volcanoes on the godly mainland, there weren't many large volcanoes. The volcano he was talking about was the largest volcano in the godly mainland. It was called the Howling Moon Volcano and was located in the east of Fiery City. It would take about half a month to get there. Len Ruoxue and the rest flew for close to half a month before they finally arrived at the Hissing Moon Volcano. As they neared the volcano, everyone could feel the heat wave coming from the volcano. This was completely different from the feeling they felt from Fiery City. Although Fiery City was very hot, that was because of the fire attribute's spiritual chi. This active volcano was completely because of the fire. Looking at the volcano from afar, the entire body of the mountain was dark red, just like red-hot iron. This volcano was indeed the #1 volcano in name and reality. The area was extremely huge and majestic. "Miss, the temperature of this volcano is so high, how are we going to get in?" Feng De said gloomily. He was most afraid of heat, and when he sat on the back of the little peacock and looked down, all he could see was the fiery red flowing magma. Just looking at it was enough to make him feel afraid. "Of course, we'll walk in." Don't be afraid, the volcano isn't as scary as you think. Besides, you might even have a fortuitous encounter. Len Ruoxue chuckled. Yes, the little fox is right. The volcano is a treasure land. Lu Feng agreed. However, his words made Feng De and the others roll their eyes. Woo! This is really bullying. This is definitely a huge difference in treatment. In fact, Feng De and the others could not be blamed for not being nice to him. After all, he was the one who told the disheveled old man the method to upgrade his natal flame. Otherwise, the disheveled old man would not have taken the risk to try it. The others, who had long regarded the disheveled old man as family, naturally held him responsible for this. Miss, in that case, let's go in. However, this volcano is so large. Even if there is divine fire, it will take a long time to find it. Feng De said worriedly. It doesn't matter. Lu Feng has a way to find the divine fire. Len Ruoxue said calmly. Yes, yes. Lu Feng quickly nodded. Little peacock, find a place to land. Len Ruoxue ordered. Yes, master, the little peacock then found a safe place to land. After that, Len Ruoxue kept it back into her bracelet. Little fox, that's the entrance to the volcano. Let's go in. Lu Feng pointed to a small path and said. Yes. Len Ruoxue nodded. Then, the group walked towards the small path, leaving Lu Feng behind. You guys wait for me. Lu Feng cried out dejectedly, woo. He had been completely ignored along the way, even his own disciple didn't dare to speak up for him, how could he be so miserable? Lu Feng, don't even think about being lazy. Hurry up and lead the way. Len Ruoxue said in an unpleasant tone. Oh. Lu Feng resigned himself to his fate and walked in front of the group. He became the guide. Woo. He was the deputy chairman of the Craftsmen's Guild. Now, he was reduced to being an errand boy for these little guys. However, he seemed to be enjoying it. Please keep reading 0NMYB0XN0VEL. Calm Lu Feng walked at the front with great familiarity. He was holding a small ring in his hand. Len Ruoxue knew that this small ring was used by him to detect the divine fire. If a divine fire was discovered in a volcano, the ring would naturally react. However, after walking for half a day, there was no warning from the ring, and Feng De and the others were exhausted. We won't be leaving today. Let's set up camp here. Len Ruoxue found a relatively large area and explained to the tired and hot group. There was lava everywhere in the volcano, so it was not easy to find a suitable place to set up camp. Even though the ground here was dry, the ground was dark red in color. Hence, they had to be extra careful when setting up camp here. Otherwise, it would be bad if lava flowed down. All right, he said. Hearing that they could rest, everyone was very happy. It was really too hot here, and they couldn't stand it. Everyone set up their tents and started a fire to cook. Lu Feng, who couldn't help, could only watch from the side. However, if he wanted to eat, he would have to pay, but he paid twice as much as Mo Yen. After dinner, Lu Feng took the initiative to request to keep watch at night, and no one had any objections. Not long after, they all went back into their tents. Before they went to sleep, Len Ruoxue even specially reminded, Lu Feng, you have to be more vigilant. Lu Feng nodded and then sat down in the corner alone. The next day, Len Ruoxue and the rest walked out of their tents looking refreshed. When they saw Lu Feng's dark circles, they couldn't help but burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Lu Feng, what's wrong with you? Len Ruoxue asked in amusement. It had only been a night, how did Lu Feng turn himself into this state? Normally, with Lu Feng's strength, it would be fine even if he didn't sleep, so she really couldn't figure it out. I've been smoked by the fire. Lu Feng said a little awkwardly. In the middle of the night, he felt a little cold, so he was closer to the fire. As a result, he became like this. Chapter 1057, Moonhowl Volcano, 3. What are you doing so close to the fire? I've put medicine there. Len Ruoxua laughed evilly. There were usually some small insects that lived on the volcano, so when she started the fire, she sprinkled some medicine to prevent any ignorant insects from ruining her mood. Therefore, she did not expect Lu Feng to stay by the fire. After all, the temperature here was not low. I was a little cold in the latter half of the night, so I stayed closer. Lu Feng said gloomily. At that time, he couldn't stop crying because of the smoke. Later, he realized that his eyes were dark, but no matter how he wiped them, they couldn't be wiped off. Woo! He was embarrassed again. Little fox, do you have the antidote? I don't want to see people with these two things on my head. Lu Feng said with a slight grievance. I didn't, Len Ruoxua said helplessly. Then what do we do? Lu Feng wanted to cry but had no tears. He felt even more depressed in his heart. I have no choice, I can only hold on. It should disappear in a few days. Len Ruoxua said uncertainly. Just like that, Lu Feng left with 2 dark circles under his eyes. Len Ruoxua and the rest had been wandering around the hissing moon volcano for 3 days. They had not found anything, not even a single herb. However, they had encountered many teams that had come to the volcano to train. Why are there so many people in the volcano? Len Ruoxua asked in confusion. To her, this volcano was not a place worth training. Other than lava, there was nothing else. Although the fire attribute's spiritual chi here cannot be compared to that of Fiery City, it's still not bad. Therefore, most of the people here are fire attribute cultivators. Of course, there are also some blacksmiths. They are mainly here to see if they can find some blacksmithing materials. Lu Feng explained in a low voice. Such a big volcano, even if there was something good, why would it still be here? Len Ruoxua was a little speechless. Perhaps Lu Feng's words made some sense, but she didn't think that these people were here just for training. When she thought of this, she gave Feng De and the rest a look. Everyone understood and immediately followed the few groups. As a few groups had chosen the same path, Len Ruoxua's group's tailing did not arouse any suspicion or dissatisfaction. Through their casual conversation, she also found out the true purpose of these people. It turned out that they had come here for the crystals. About a month ago, someone had accidentally discovered a top-grade fire attribute crystal stone in the hissing moon volcano. After that person had sent the news back to his clan had originally planned to keep this matter a secret. However, no one knew where the news had been leaked, so the hissing moon volcano was filled with people in a short time. However, they had been searching in the volcano for more than half a month without any results. Miss, there are top-grade crystals here, hee. That's great. Feng De said with a money-grubbing look. Although he was not of the fire attribute, top-grade crystals were worth a lot of money, and he liked those shiny stones very much now. Just looking at them made him happy. Don't get your hopes up. They've been searching for so long and still haven't found it. So, there might only be one piece. Len Ruoxua poured cold water on Feng De's head. Even though everyone loved supreme-grade crystals, she did not wish for Feng De and the rest to be too obsessed with it, in case it affected their mental state and cultivation. Yes. If it's ours, it can't run away. If it's not ours, there's no point in us thinking about it. Feng De said quickly, which also meant that he was open-minded. Well, it's good that you can think this way. You should know that opportunities can only be encountered and not sought. You can't just have them if you want them. Len Ruoxua nodded. Miss, let's continue to look for the divine fire. I won't get involved with them. Feng De said. Yes, our goal is the divine fire. As for the top-grade crystals, let them worry about it. Len Ruoxua replied nonchalantly. She really didn't lack crystal stones, so she naturally didn't want to be involved with those people. Moreover, there were so many people in the volcano. Even if they found crystal stones, they would probably fight until their heads bled. Hence, she naturally wasn't very interested. Following that, Leng Ruoxue and the rest went in the opposite direction from those people. Their departure did not attract too much attention from the crowd. After all, those people could not wait for Leng Ruoxue and the others to leave. That way, there would be one less competitor. Leng Ruoxue and the rest continued their search in the volcano, but the divine fire was nowhere to be found. 7 days later. By now, Leng Ruoxue and the rest had already explored the entire volcano. Little Fox, let's leave this place and look for other volcanoes. Lu Feng, who was sitting on the ground, couldn't help but say. Aren't you going there? Leng Ruoxue pointed at a cave. It was also known as a lava cave because when a volcano erupted, there would be endless lava flowing out from it. However, it was not the active period of the volcano, so it was relatively more stable there. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0 VEL. Calm, it's impossible for it to be there, Lu Feng said with certainty. Although the godly fire was a fire seed, it was not produced from the inside of a volcano, but in nature. It was a product of nature. As the saying goes, a mountain cannot contain two fires. The godly fire could live in the volcano, but it could not occupy the magpie's nest. This was the law of nature. How would we know if we don't go and take a look? What if there's one? Leng Ruoxue said stubbornly. If she were to leave just like that, she would always feel regret. After all, there were still places that she had not searched. That's right. It's nothing to go down and take a look. Feng De and the others also agreed. AI. It's not that I don't want you to go down, but the inside of the volcano is very dangerous. It's impossible for the divine fire to live there, so we'd better hurry up and search the other volcanoes. Lu Feng said helplessly. I want to go down and take a look. Otherwise, I won't give up. Leng Ruoxue said stubbornly. Well, listen to Miss. Feng De and the others quickly expressed their opinions, while the evil demon and the others smiled without saying a word. Lu Feng didn't need to ask to know that these people would unconditionally listen to the little fox's words. Therefore, it was useless for him to oppose it alone. Moreover, he couldn't just watch them go into the volcano and risk their lives. Therefore, he could only risk his life and accompany them. Let's go down together. Lu Feng sighed, his handsome face was filled with helplessness. Chapter 1058, Moonhowl Volcano, 4, Then what are we waiting for? Let's go down. Leng Ruoxue said hurriedly. Little Fox, it's getting late. You can go down tomorrow. Lu Feng hurriedly said. The sky was about to turn dark, even if he wanted to go down, he couldn't do it now. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded in agreement. The next day, just as the sun rose. After Leng Ruoxue and the rest finished their breakfast, they went to the entrance of the volcano and prepared to go down to investigate. The entrance of the volcano in front of them was not big, so they could only go down in groups. Feng De and a few others volunteered themselves and jumped down first. Soon after, Leng Ruoxue and the rest followed. Lu Feng was arranged to be the last one to enter the cave. After everyone had gone down, Lu Feng was the last one to enter. Once everyone was present, Leng Ruoxue and the rest lit up a few flames. In an instant, the entire cave was lit up. The cave in front of them was surrounded by dark red stone walls with sparks occasionally flashing on them. The temperature in the cave was more than twice as high as the outside, but the entire stone wall was very dry and smooth as a mirror. Sizing up the cave, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but sigh. This volcanic cave was much cleaner than the one she had been to on the Edge-Wind continent. The group followed a path filled with uneven rocks as they walked deeper into the cave. The deeper they went, the denser the fire-type spiritual chi became. However, what made Leng Ruoxue curious was that this cave was a little too clean. After walking for so long, they had not even discovered a single bug. This was too unbelievable. However, the more it was so, the more Len Ruoxue did not dare to let her guard down. At the same time, she also reminded everyone to be on high alert until they arrived at a world of crystals. Len Ruoxue and the rest widened their eyes in disbelief when they saw the sparkling and translucent fiery red crystals on the wall. Even Lu Feng, who had seen many things in his life, was dumbfounded. Heavens! This place is too beautiful. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. If a bed was placed here, this place could be called a palace built with crystal stones. Hee hee. I'm rich. Feng De drooled as he looked at the crystals. Then, he ran to the crystal wall without caring about his image and gently stroked the shiny crystals, giving everyone goosebumps. Don't embarrass me. Lu Tao couldn't stand it anymore, so she quickly pulled Feng De back. Hee hee. I'm just too happy. Feng De said, a little embarrassed. Those people had been searching for more than half a month without finding anything, and they had actually found it by accident. Hee hee. If those people were to find out about this, they would be so angry that they would vomit blood. Little fox, don't just stand there, hurry up and dig. Otherwise, it'll be bad if someone else finds out. Lu Feng, who had recovered from his shock, quickly reminded. This many crystal stones were enough to cause a bloody storm in the divine world. Moreover, almost all of them were top-grade crystal stones. Even the worst of them were high-grade crystal stones. If this news were to spread out, they would not be able to rest in peace. Everyone, let's do it. The spirit beasts can also come out to help. Len Ruoxue quickly replied after hearing Lu Feng's words. Yes. Everyone replied in unison. Then, they summoned their own beastie and everyone began to excavate the crystals with great enthusiasm. Len Ruoxue also took out the silver wolves from her bracelet. As for the other beasts, they did not come out for the time being so as not to provoke Lu Feng. In fact, Lu Feng had already been provoked. Looking at the dragon, phoenix, and the silver wolves in front of him, he was unfortunately dumbfounded again. Where did these beasts come from? Were his eyes playing tricks on him? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but rub his eyes. It was still there. Then it wasn't an illusion. Moreover, those spirit beasts were all well trained, and they dug up the crystal stones at an extremely fast speed. Their sharp claws were seen flying up and down, and the crystals on the wall fell to the ground. Feng De and the rest were in charge of collecting the crystals and passing them to Len Ruoxue. Everyone and the spirit beasts cooperated quite tacitly, and very quickly, more than half of the crystals on the wall had been picked, while Lu Feng was still standing there stupidly. If you don't act now, you won't have a share of these crystals. Len Ruoxue reminded him with an evil smile. Ah! Little fox, whoever sees it will have a share, you can't do this. Lu Feng said with a slight grievance. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xn0 VEL. Calm, don't pretend. With your status, you still lack Jingshi. Len Ruoxue said. That's not the same. Not to mention, most of these crystals are of the highest quality. Only a fool wouldn't be moved. Lu Feng quibbled. The joy of personally collecting Jingshi was not the same as forging and earning Jingshi. Moreover, this was also considered an opportunity for him. Hee hee. Then why didn't you make a move? Len Ruoxue urged him like a supervisor. Aren't you guys standing there too? Lu Feng couldn't help but whisper. But my subordinates are all working, while you are alone. Len Ruoxue reminded kindly. Who said that? I still have an apprentice. Lu Feng complained. Your disciple is also on our side. Len Ruoxue said in an unpleasant tone. All of a sudden, a five-colored ball of light flashed past Len Ruoxue and the others. Chapter 1059, How much are you worth? 1. When Len Ruoxue and the demons saw this, they immediately gave chase. Out of curiosity, Lu Feng also wanted to go over and take a look, but he was stopped by Feng De, who said unhappily, "Work hard. Don't cheat." "Ah. I just want to see what it is," Lu Feng said very aggrievedly. "Everyone has a curious heart, why can't I go and see?" Boo-hoo. These people were bullying him. At the thought of this, he kept looking at the disheveled old man. However, the disheveled old man did not seem to see him and continued doing what he was supposed to do. What a joke. Even if Lu Feng was his master, he didn't dare to take the risk of offending everyone to speak up for Lu Feng. Furthermore, in his eyes, his master, Lu Feng, was far less important than Leng Ruoxue and the rest. The disheveled old man could not help but think to himself. What's there to see? Hurry up and finish digging these crystals. There's Miss and Commander Yi over there. We don't need to worry about it. Feng Da's eyes were wide open as he said unhappily. Aren't you guys curious? Lu Feng said in disbelief. These people were too calm when they saw the appearance of strange things. He couldn't help but feel incredulous. What's there to be curious about? We'll find out sooner or later anyway. Feng De said nonchalantly. His hands didn't stop moving, and soon, the storage ring was filled to the brim. Ah! Lu Feng was speechless. No wonder these people weren't anxious at all. They were very sure that the little fox would tell them. Woo! Why didn't he have this kind of confidence? Lu Feng was surprised to find that ever since he got to know these little guys, he had changed. He had become sentimental. Hurry up and get to work. Otherwise, Miss really wouldn't have given you Jingshi. Our family's young miss has always kept her word. Feng De reminded him with a smirk. In fact, he was hoping that Lu Feng would just stand there and not move. Hee hee. However, for the disheveled old man's sake, he had to remind him of what he needed to. Ai. All right. Lu Feng sighed, resigned himself to his fate and took out a small shovel, digging up the crystal stones on the wall. Hee hee. You're pretty professional. There are also tools. Feng De said with a smile. That's a must. I'm a blacksmith. If I come across a good or material and I don't have any tools on hand, how regretful would that be? Lu Feng said proudly. As a blacksmith, tools were a necessity. Therefore, they would usually carry them with them. Since you have the tools, I'll leave that area to you. Feng De pointed to the wall on his left. Ah! It can't be. Lu Feng's head ached. With so many Jingshi in his hands, how long would he have to mine? You can't bully people like this. As you can see, we don't have any tools. An able man should do more work. Feng De said matter-of-factly. Although you don't have any tools, don't you think that the claws of those beasts are faster than my shovel? Lu Feng couldn't help but ask. I don't think so. Feng De was lying through his teeth. He clearly wanted Lu Feng to work more. Humph. Who asked Lu Feng to give the disheveled old man such a wicked idea? In fact, he still bore a grudge in his heart for this matter. So, as long as he found an opportunity, he would deal with Lu Feng. Heavens! You're such a bully. Lu Feng looked up to the sky and sighed. He couldn't stop crying in his heart. Did he meet a group of vampires? However, he still resigned himself to his fate and went to the crystal stone that Feng De had pointed out and started digging. Woo! He had no choice but to bow his head when he was under the eaves. Who asked him to be in the disadvantageous group? At the same time, Leng Ruoxue and the demon chased after the five-colored ball of light. After turning left and right and passing through several passages, they arrived at a stone room. The stone room looked very simple and crude. There was nothing on the surrounding walls, and there were no signs of anyone living in it. Thus, Leng Ruoxue guessed that this was a naturally formed stone room. Leng Ruoxue was perplexed as she watched the multicolored ball of light spin around the stone room. Could this be its home? However, she still couldn't see what was inside the ball of light. Stop. You're not allowed to turn around. Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but shout out. The ball of light was spinning so much that she was about to faint. After the ball of light heard Leng Ruoxue's words, it actually stopped. However, the ball of light was still trembling. When Leng Ruoxue saw this, she was speechless. Could it be that this ball of light was afraid? They should be the ones who should be afraid, okay? Why was it the other way around? Sister, speak to it gently. Don't scare it. Suddenly, Qing Ju's voice appeared in Leng Ruoxue's mind. Ah. Qing Ju, do you know what this light is? Leng Ruoxue asked in surprise. Big sister, if I'm not wrong, it should be the fire crystal stone heart spirit. Otherwise, the quality of the fire attribute crystals here can't be so good, and there are so many of them, Qing Ju guessed. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm with the fire crystal stone heart, although it could produce supreme-grade fire attribute crystals, the quantity was usually not very high. Therefore, the quality and quantity of the crystals here had aroused Green Vessel's suspicion. After all, the cultivation of supreme-grade crystals required a large amount of spiritual qi, and the fire crystal stone heart without intelligence could not absorb a large amount of spiritual qi. However, once the fire crystal stone heart had intelligence, the quality of the crystals it cultivated would be greatly improved. It's true. Leng Ruoxue was overjoyed when she heard this. How could she be so lucky? She already had a fire crystal stone heart in her hands, and now she had encountered the spirit of the fire crystal stone heart. In the future, they would not be short of crystal stones. Thinking of this, she looked at the ball of light with even more passion. This little thing was too suitable to live in her space. Oh! How can I kidnap it? Leng Ruoxue's thoughts turned over and over again. In the end, she decided to use the method of coaxing. After all, the thoughts of these elves were very pure. So, if she were to play tricks with this little fellow, she was afraid that it would only make this little fellow even more vigilant. At the thought of this, Leng Ruoxue chuckled and said, "Little guy, don't be afraid. Big sister won't hurt you." However, what made Leng Ruoxue disappointed was that the ball of light did not react at all after hearing her words. What was going on? Could it be that this little fellow didn't understand what she was saying? Little guy, big sister is not a bad person. I won't hurt you. Leng Ruoxue coaxed again. The smile on her beautiful face was pure and harmless. Chapter 1060, How much are you worth? 2. However, the five-colored ball of light did not give Leng Ruoxue any response. It did not try to escape either. After a long while, there was still no reaction from the ball of light. Just as Leng Ruoxue was about to think of other ways to try it out, the ball of light suddenly spoke. "Ah, really?" A timid child's voice entered Leng Ruoxue and the demon's ears. Of course it's true, big sister would never lie to children. Leng Ruoxue promised. Oh. The ball of light responded softly. Shortly after, the ball of light disappeared. What appeared in front of Leng Ruoxue and the demon was a chubby child who was not even 1 year old and was only wearing a red dudu. The little baby was white and chubby, with a pair of dark red eyes. His long eyelashes covered the shyness in his eyes, making him look particularly cute. When Leng Ruoxue saw the appearance of this little doll, she had an idea and moved the small fire ginseng and hua out of the bangle. The moment the two little fellows came out, they pounced into Leng Ruoxue's arms affectionately. Fire kept calling out, "Mommy," while small fire ginseng called out, "Big sister." After that, when Fire saw the demon, she threw herself into his arms and called him Daddy affectionately. Finally, the two little fellows turned their eyes to the other child. You're also elves," the little child said in disbelief. Spirits had a special sense of perception between them, so he had sensed Fire, and little Fire Ginseng as soon as they had come out. These two little fellows also made him feel very familiar. "Yes, I'm a Fire Ginseng, and this is a Fire Lotus." were both plant-type sprites. The small fire ginseng introduced as if it was a big brother. Hello, it's a pleasure to meet you. The baby said shyly. He had never thought that he would be able to see other heavenly treasure spirits, so he could not help but be overjoyed. After all, it was not easy for heavenly treasures like them to develop intelligence. Now, the two in front of him were actually able to transform like him, which made him even happier. Hee hee. We're also very happy to see you. Fire and small fire ginseng also said happily. Moreover, the three little fellows soon started to play together. Leng Ruoxue saw the three little ones hiding in the corner, discussing something. She couldn't help but shake her head in amusement. She thought to herself, as expected, elves are closer to each other. When the little fellows in my bracelet that have developed intelligence can transform, these little things will have more playmates. After a short while, the three little fellows finished their discussion and went to Leng Ruoxue and the demon together. I want to go with you. Can I? The child looked at Leng Ruoxue with anticipation, but he was extremely nervous. Although Fire, and Small Fire Ginseng had promised that this beautiful sister would agree to his request, he still wasn't confident. Of course you can. Leng Ruoxue smiled and nodded. Even if this little fellow didn't take the initiative to mention it, she would have thought of a way to bring this little thing away. What if such an innocent little doll was captured by others if she were to stay here? She could be cold-blooded to her enemies and heartless to strangers, but she loved these blessed children of heaven and earth very much. This was not because they were precious, but because these little things were so innocent that they made people love them. Can I call you big sister in the future? The child asked again. Of course you can, Leng Ruoxue nodded. Sister. The little child cried out happily. He was no longer as afraid as he was when he first met Leng Ruoxue. In fact, he still had a good impression of this sister. Be good. Leng Ruoxue gently stroked the chubby little doll's head. After some thought, she said, You'll be called Little Fatty from now on. Yes, thank you, sister. Little Fatty said happily, hee hee. He had a name. Seeing Little Fatty's happy expression, Leng Ruoxue's mood was also extremely relaxed. Being with these cute little fellows was much more interesting than being with those complicated humans. At least in front of them, she could be very relaxed. Following that, Leng Ruoxue had a change of heart and brought the evildoer and the three little fellows into the bracelet. Little Fatty, this will be your new home from now on. You can take a look around. I'll take you out to meet my family later. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. All right, he said. Little Fatty was overjoyed. He had heard Fire and Little Fire Ginseng mention this place before, but he didn't expect to see it so soon. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm looking at the beautiful scenery in the interspace and breathing in the rich spiritual chi, Little Fatty felt that he was really too happy. Immediately, he was led by the two little fellows, who were already familiar with the way, to tour the interspace. Meanwhile, Leng Ruoxue and the demon sat on the stone chair, waiting for the three little fellows. After a long time, Fire and Small Fire Ginseng had finally finished showing Little Fatty around. The three of them came to Leng Ruoxue and Evildoer. Big sister, this place is so beautiful. It's much better than the place I stayed in before. Lil Fatty was extremely excited. However, what he didn't expect was that he would be able to see so many elves. It seemed like his decision to follow his sister was a wise one. Of course. Hua said with pride. Her smug look was so cute that Leng Ruoxue could not help but hug Hua tightly in her arms and kiss her. Hee hee. Sister, when are you taking me to see grandfather and the others? Little Fatty said anxiously. The family that his sister was talking about should be those people just now. However, he was in a hurry to escape just now, so he didn't pay much attention to it. Now, Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. All right, he said. Lil Fatty nodded his head obediently. Mom, I want to go out and play too. Hua pitifully begged. You can, Len Ruoxue rejected. The fire-type aura on this little fellow was too strong. If any alchemist were to discover it, it would not be a joke. But I miss Daddy and Mommy. Hua was very aggrieved, and tears kept welling up in her beautiful eyes. Seeing Xiaohua like this, Len Ruoxue couldn't help but have a headache. Why did the people and beasts around her like to act pitiful? Now, even fire had learned it. However, she wouldn't be soft-hearted towards Hua and the other little fellows. Chapter 1061, How Much Are You Worth? 3. At the thought of this, Len Ruoxue secretly gave Small Fire Ginseng a look. Small Fire Ginseng understood her meaning and immediately reprimanded Hua with a serious expression. Hua, don't be so willful. It's not safe outside. If you're discovered, you'll harm your sister. Compared to him, Hua was much more innocent. After all, Hua came from the secret realm and had been taken care of by the spirit of the secret realm since young. Therefore, she had no idea how evil the people outside could be. However, he was different. Although he had the protection of Xiaohua, he was very clear about the thoughts of the people outside. If they were discovered by people, they would definitely not have a good end. Therefore, as the second elder brother of the elves, he had the responsibility to protect the elves who were even more innocent than him. As for their leader, it was naturally Green Vessel. All right then. Fire sobbed and said in a small voice, Woo. It can act coquettishly with its father and mother, but it's a little afraid of Little Fire Ginseng, so it didn't dare to disobey Little Fire Ginseng's words. That's a good girl. Small Fire Ginseng said in a very detailed manner. Watching the interaction between the two little fellows, Len Ruoxue could not help but laugh. These little guys were really too cute. Fire, Small Fire Ginseng, you two can play here. I'll take little Fatty out first. Len Ruoxue chuckled. Yes. Fire and Small Fire Ginseng nodded in unison. Len Ruoxue had an idea and brought the evildoer and little Fatty out of the bracelet. When the three of them returned to where Feng De and the others were, everyone was stunned when they saw the chubby baby in the demonic child's arms. However, they returned to normal in an instant. However, Lu Feng's state of mind was not as calm as Feng De and the others. He took a long time to come back to his senses. Looking at the fat boy in the evildoer's arms, he said in disbelief, It's only been a while, and you've already had a child. As soon as he said this, everyone looked at him as if he was an idiot. This made him feel very embarrassed. Did he say something wrong? The two of them had left, but now they had returned with a child. If it wasn't theirs, who else could it be? He thought to himself stubbornly. It's only been a short while, go and give birth to one for me. Len Ruoxue rolled her eyes and said speechlessly, Does Lu Feng have any common sense? Even a god couldn't have given birth so quickly. Ah. Then where did this child come from? Could it be that you stole it? No. Quickly send it back, or else the child's parents will be worried to death. Lu Feng guessed and said anxiously. Lu Feng, I just realized today that you have such a rich imagination. Len Ruoxue was helpless, and a deep sense of powerlessness quickly wrapped around her. Ah. Isn't it? Lu Feng asked in a daze. The sudden appearance of the child had broken his usual calm and thinking. Of course not. This little guy is the five-colored light that ran out just now. Len Ruoxue sighed and explained. Arg. However, it was clearly an unknown ball of light just now. How did it become a child now? Lu Feng's brain still hadn't come to his senses as he said in a single-track manner. Im not some unknown luminous body, ignorant human, im the spirit of the fire crystal stone heart. Little Fatty was a little unhappy when he heard someone say that he was an unknown luminous body. Fire crystal stone heart. Spirit. Lu Feng's eyes widened and he said in disbelief, Fuck. He had lived for so long, and although he knew of the existence of a crystal stone heart, it was the first time he had heard that a crystal stone heart could produce a living being. And this was absolutely beyond his usual thinking. Isn't the fire crystal stone core just a stone? How can it give birth to sprites? Lu Feng asked shamelessly. He only knew that plant-type heavenly treasures would have sprites, but he had never heard of hard stones having sprites. Ignorant human, I'm also born with spiritual qi, so why can't I have intelligence? Can't transform? Otherwise, where do you think those Jingshi came from? In fact, those are just trash that I don't want. Little Fatty said with a look of disdain. Ah. This time, not only Lu Feng was depressed, but even Feng De and the others were a little depressed. So the Jingshi that they had spent half a day digging out was just trash that others didn't want. What would they become then? Picking up trash. However, was there such expensive trash? Looking at Lu Feng, Feng De, and the rest's gloomy expressions, Leng Ruoxue could not help but chuckle, ha ha ha. You're thinking too much. These Jingshi might be useless to little Fatty, but to us, they're good things. I'll just treat it as recycling. Yes, these things are indeed very useful for humans and beasts. Little Fatty agreed. Sister, they're digging a little slowly, let me help them. Little Fatty saw that there was still about a third of the crystals on the wall that had not been dug out, so he spoke again. All right. Leng Ruoxue smiled and nodded. As soon as she finished speaking, little Fatty stretched out his fair and tender little hand. Instantly, countless light spots flew towards the wall. In an instant, the crystal stones on the wall fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, the remaining crystal stones were excavated. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Looking at Lil Fatty's speed, Feng De and the rest, as well as Beastie, felt inferior. Compared to them, they could be considered to be moving at a turtle's speed. My idol. Lu Feng's eyes lit up when he saw this. He stared at little Fatty as if he had found his prey. He didn't expect this little kid to be so capable. Truly worthy of being the spirit of the crystal stone heart. Don't worship me, I'm a legend. Little Fatty suddenly blurted out such a sentence, causing Leng Ruoxue to break out in cold sweat. When did Lil Fatty learn to say this? She knew without even asking that he must have learned it from Hua and the others. As for the two little guys, they must have learned it from Feng De and the others. When she thought of this, her beautiful eyes could not help but glare at Feng De and the others. Miss, it's not my fault. Feng De quickly tried to distance himself from the matter. Sobs. Did this little guy have a grudge against them? Wasn't this harming them? The young miss had always told them not to lead the little ones astray. Now, it was all good. Who knew who had unintentionally said such words, and these little fellows had learned it. Hee hee. This little thing is quite interesting. Lu Feng, who didn't notice anything wrong, said in disbelief. Chapter 1062, How much are you worth? For, I'm not a little thing. I'm Little Fatty, the name my sister gave me. Little Fatty said proudly. Little Fatty. Lu Feng was speechless. He thought to himself, the little fox's naming skills aren't that good. How could he call him Little Fatty just because he saw him fat? Little Fatty. Your name is too unpleasant to hear. In the future, follow Big Brother, okay? Big Brother will give you a nice name. Lu Feng was not afraid of death as he started to dig up Leng Ruoxue's secret. At the same time, he threw Leng Ruoxue a provocative look. However, it was a pity that Leng Ruoxue didn't care at all. Hence, Lu Feng's smugness was in vain. Not good, humph. Who wants to hang out with you? You don't look like a good person. Also, I think this name is quite good and suits me. Little Fatty said, not giving him any face. Lu Feng heard Little Fatty's words and was sad. Woo! How did he not look like a good person? Did that little fox look better than him? When he thought of this, his heart felt extremely unbalanced. This was really bullying. Ha ha ha. When the others heard little Fatty's words, they couldn't help but burst into laughter. It seems that elves are the most sensitive. They can tell who is good and who is bad. Leng Qingtian was overjoyed. This chubby little kid was really too cute, he actually made Lu Feng speechless. That's right. If elves aren't sensitive, how can they escape the humans, search and successfully transform? Leng Xiaoyu laughed as well. She had known Lu Feng for so long, and other than little Shui, this little kid could actually make Lu Feng suffer. It was truly too rare. You're all bullying me, Wu. Lu Feng pretended to be sad, but unfortunately, he was ignored by everyone. Leng Ruoxue then gave a direct order, pack up your things and leave this place. Yes, yes. Everyone nodded in unison. In the blink of an eye, the jingshi that had been piled on the ground were all collected by them. After that, everyone left the place under little Fatty's guidance. However, when they left the cave, they were still in the Howling Moon volcano. Leng Ruoxue instructed everyone to start a fire and cook while she asked little Fatty. Little Fatty, do you know if there's any divine fire in this volcano? Leng Ruoxue asked softly. Divine flame? Little Fatty frowned and thought for a long time before he said with certainty, Sister, there used to be a divine flame here. However, so many years have passed, and the divine flame I know of has long disappeared. Oh. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head lightly. She thought to herself, since the divine fire here has disappeared, we should leave as soon as possible. Little Fatty, do you know that there are many people outside looking for fire attribute crystals in this volcano? Suddenly, Lu Feng interjected. He was really curious, how did this chubby baby hide from those humans, search? I know, but they won't be able to find it. Little Fatty said with absolute certainty. Hee hee. How could it be so easy to find him? His sister and the others were lucky that he was sleeping. Otherwise, they would not have found him. We still found it, Lu Feng reminded. This little guy was really too arrogant, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. Elves need to sleep too. I was sleeping when you found me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let you guys find out. Little Fatty retorted, unwilling to be outdone. However, now he felt that it was good to be found out. At least he had a home. Oh. Lu Feng nodded his head and felt that this little guy's words made sense. After all, so many people had been looking for it but it had not been found. It could be seen that this little thing had some skills. Don't look down on the elves. If we don't have some means of self-protection, we won't have the chance to transform. Little Fatty saw through Lu Feng's thoughts and reminded him unhappily. Ah. I'm not looking down on elves. Lu Feng hurriedly said. This little thing was now under the protection of the little fox, he couldn't afford to offend it. Miss, the meal is ready. At this time, Feng De walked over and saved the embarrassed Lu Feng from the sea of suffering. After everyone finished their meal, they did not stay in the volcano for long and left. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm, little fox, let's go to the other volcanoes. In the air, Lu Feng was lying on the soft and comfortable back of the little peacock. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Suddenly, a loud shout rang in Leng Ruoxue and the rest's ears, you guys don't have to go anywhere, haha. As soon as she finished speaking, several black figures appeared around the little peacock, blocking her way. Good dogs don't block the way. Move aside. The little peacock suppressed her anger and said, fuck, can't you tell that we're in a hurry? He actually dared to stop them. You long-haired animal, you dare to scold us. I'll show you how powerful I am in a while. The leader of the men in black shouted angrily. You're the animal, your whole family is an animal. The little peacock replied, unwilling to be outdone. Brothers, let's do it. Kill this bird. The leader of the men in black was so angry that he directly gave the order. Wait. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue spoke indifferently. Her voice attracted the attention of all the men in black. Immediately, several lustful eyes fixed on her. Boss, there's really an absolute beauty. The employer didn't lie to us. One of the men said happily. His eyes kept on scanning Leng Ruoxue's body, as if he could see through her. In an instant, the wind and clouds changed. The man who was still in a daze a moment ago was hit in the eyes by two black rays of light in the blink of an eye. Ah! A cry of pain resounded through the void. The man covered his eyes in pain as blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers. He was still rolling around on his beastie's body. If it wasn't for his beastie's size, he might have fallen down. When Leng Ruoxue saw this, she didn't even need to guess to know that the demon had made his move. Damn it, who did this? Get out here. When the leader of the men in black saw this, he couldn't help but roar in anger. Fuck, they hadn't even made a move. Someone was actually injured. This really made him lose face. Chapter 1063, How Much Are You Worth? 5. However, his words were no different from noise to Leng Ruoxue and the others. No one paid him any attention. I'm asking you a question. Who did this? Get out here. The leader of the men in black shouted at the top of his voice. You didn't even see it, so how would we know? Leng Ruoxue said innocently, her beautiful eyes sizing up the man in front of her. The man looked tall and strong. His facial features were ordinary, and his strength was at the mid-tier advanced divine realm. He could be considered an expert on the divine mainland. Who would have thought that he was in the business of robbing people? From what the man said, he was probably under someone's orders. To be precise, he was hired. It would be strange if you guys didn't know. The leader of the men in black did not believe her at all. However, whether he believed her or not, it was not within Leng Ruoxue's scope of consideration. If that's the case, why are you still asking us? Leng Ruoxue said calmly. Brothers, let's do it. Other than the three women, don't leave anyone alive. The leader of the men in black was furious and ordered his subordinates. I said wait, don't you understand? Leng Ruoxue was a little speechless. Why couldn't these men in black understand human language? What are you waiting for? I don't have that kind of free time. The leader of the black-clothed men said fiercely. Could it be that you've accepted other business? Leng Ruoxue guessed. What does it have to do with you? The leader of the men in black stomped his feet in anger. He thought to himself, why does this woman have so many questions? He didn't like women who talked too much. It's none of my business, but can you tell me something about me? Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. Something related to you? What's the matter? The leader of the men in black was stunned. It was obvious that he was confused by Leng Ruoxue's words. Who told you to come and find trouble with us? Leng Ruoxue asked with an evil smile. Actually, if she really wanted to know who the mastermind was, she could have asked Qing Ju to read this man's heart. However, she liked the fun of teasing her opponent more. Hee hee. The feeling of a cat catching a mouse was very good. No one asked us to find trouble with you. They asked us to kill you. The leader of the men in black corrected him. In my opinion, it's all the same. You just have to tell me who ordered you to do it. Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Ah. Why should I tell you? The leader of the men in black asked in a daze. If you don't tell me, we'll have to come to you for revenge after we become hostile ghosts. But if you tell us, we won't come to you. We are naturally looking for the mastermind. Leng Ruoxue coaxed. Ah. So it's like this. The leader of the men in black pondered and couldn't make up his mind. On the other hand, the subordinates by his side were a little scared when they heard Leng Ruoxue's words and kept urging their boss. Boss, tell them. Otherwise, we won't be able to take it if they go to hell and complain about us. A timid subordinate said in a low voice. What are you afraid of? I don't believe they'll come back for revenge. The leader of the men in black reprimanded. How could one return to hell just because they wanted to? That place was a completely different world from where they were. It's better to be safe than sorry. That person whispered again. Leng Ruoxue was very satisfied with his cooperation and even decided to let him die a quick death. I can tell you, but you have to promise that you won't come to us for revenge after you die. The leader of the black-clothed men was swayed by his subordinate's words and said with uncertainty. Don't worry, even if I want revenge, I won't look for you guys. Leng Ruoxue promised. In her eyes, these people were just small fries, and she was looking for the mastermind. The person who hired us to kill you is a woman. I heard the people around her call her Lady Rume, but I don't know what kind of lady she is. The leader of the black-clothed men said after thinking for a while. In fact, in their line of work, they didn't need to know the name of the employer, and they wouldn't take the initiative to ask. Of course, if the employer was willing to say it, it was a different story. The reason why he knew that the woman was Lady Rume was because the people around the woman called her that, so he remembered it. Oh. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Just as she had expected, this matter was related to Yin Rume. However, Yin Rume was looking down on them too much. She only found a dozen people and wanted to kill them. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm, how much did that woman pay you? Feng De asked curiously. I'm sorry, but the price is confidential. The leader of the men in black said. He could tell these people his employer's name, but he could not tell them the price. That was a trade secret. I just want to know how much I'm worth. We're about to die, are you still not willing to help us? Feng Da's face was bitter as he spoke in a slightly pained tone. Ah. Your price is 100 top-grade crystals. When the leader of the men in black heard Feng Da's words, he felt that it made sense. Since they were going to die soon, he would fulfill their wishes. After all, the dead would not speak nonsense. What? 100 top-grade crystals. Feng Da's eyes widened in disbelief when he heard the answer. Yup. I also didn't expect that woman to be so generous. In order to get rid of you, she was even willing to pay 100 high-grade crystal stones. The leader of the men in black said in satisfaction. This was the highest price out of all the business he had received recently. Damn it, are we only worth 100 top-quality crystal stones? Feng De saw that the leader of the men in black seemed to be satisfied with the price, and the anger in his heart rose. Fuck, how could they be so cheap? Ah. This is already a very high price. The leader of the men in black quibbled. Tall, my ass. You've been tricked, do you know that? This guy alone is worth more than 100 top-quality crystal stones. Feng De pointed at Lu Feng and roared in anger. Why? The leader of the men in black looked at the man Feng De was pointing at and asked in confusion. He didn't find anything special about the man, he just thought that he was more handsome than the average man. Do you know who he is? Feng De asked again. I don't know, the leader of the men in black replied honestly. You didn't even figure out our identity and you dare to accept this business? Feng De said with some disappointment, damn it. These people were so muddled, how could they still be alive now? This shouldn't be the case. Ah. My employer said that you're just nobodies, so, the leader of the men in black stopped halfway. At this time, he also began to doubt the identity of Feng De and the others. Your Excellency Lu Feng. You've become a small character. Feng De looked at Lu Feng and said with some schadenfreude. AI. Lu Feng sighed and felt very helpless in his heart. He obviously wanted to be low-key, but why did these people force him to be high-profile? I'm very valuable. Lu Feng said softly. Clearly, he wasn't too satisfied with this price. He even felt that Yin Rume was too stingy. Even if she wanted to kill him as well, she should at least give him a price that was befitting of his status. 100 pieces of high-grade crystal stones was clearly an insult to him. Ah! How much are you worth? The leader of the men in black had a suspicious look on his face. He thought to himself, could it be that I really took too little? I'm priceless. Lu Feng said very arrogantly, his extraordinarily handsome face full of pride. Damn it, how can you be priceless? You're just a pretty boy, and you dare to show off in front of me. The leader of the men in black said angrily. This pretty boy was really too annoying. In his opinion, this man was simply asking for a beating. Little pretty boy. Me? Lu Feng said in disbelief. In his entire life, this was the first time someone had described him in such a way. Fuck, he was a man, how did he look like a gigolo who lived off a woman? He felt humiliated again. However, when Lin Ruoxue and the rest heard the leader's words, they all started laughing unceremoniously. Ha ha ha. Your Excellency Lu Feng is actually a pretty boy. Oh. It looks like it. The crowd started to tease him, and Lu Feng's handsome face was like a color palette, from red to white, then to green, and finally to black. He was obviously very angry. Are you guys done laughing? Lu Feng roared and then glared at the leader of the men in black. He released a trace of his pressure and shouted, fuck, open your dog eyes and look clearly, which part of me looks like a pretty boy? Everywhere. Although the leader of the men in black was frightened by Lu Feng's aura, he still mumbled softly. No matter how soft his voice was, Lin Ruoxue and the rest could still hear him clearly. Seeing this, Lin Ruoxue and the others laughed even more heartily. Chapter 1064, Creating Evidence, 1, You're really looking for death. Lu Feng was furious. The consequences were very serious. Fuck, did these people really think he was a soft persimmon that could be pinched at will? Now, even a few insignificant people had come to humiliate him. Ha ha ha. You're really unlucky to have offended His Excellency Lu Feng. Feng De said, gloating. What's Sir Lu Feng? I don't know him. Although the leader of the men in black was a little afraid, he still said it stubbornly. Oh, really? Then I'll let you get to know her today. Lu Feng said viciously. It just so happened that he had no way to vent the anger in his heart, so he would take it out on these people today. You guys are really too ignorant. You don't even know the famous flowing wind, hee hee. He was the deputy president of the Armament Guild headquarters. How much do you guys think he's worth? Before Lu Feng could make a move, Feng De said. The deputy president of the Armament Guild headquarters. When the leader of the men in black heard these words, his face turned pale with fright. This pretty boy was actually the deputy president of the Armament Guild headquarters. This person couldn't be lying to him, right? Speaking of which, in the immortal realm, there were two kinds of people that one absolutely could not provoke, and that was armament masters and alchemy masters. Otherwise, one would not even know how one died. Therefore, he really could not believe that this outrageously beautiful pretty boy in front of him was actually the deputy chairman of the Armament Guild headquarters. That's right, his position in the Craftsman's Guild is above your employer. Hee hee. Do you still think he's not worth anything? 100 top-grade crystal stones was too little, right? You've been tricked by Her Excellency Rume. Feng De laughed evilly as he tried to drive a wedge between them. Feng De's words set off a storm in the hearts of the men in black. The men in black looked at each other, and then their faces were filled with anger. Fuck, they might have been fooled. Of course, the premise was that this pretty boy was really the deputy president of the Armament Guild headquarters. It could be seen that they were still somewhat skeptical of Feng De's words. You said he's the deputy president of the Armament Guild headquarters. What evidence do you have? The leader of the black-clothed men said, unwilling to give up. Your Excellency Lu Feng, quickly take out your identity card and let these guys see it. Feng De said to Lu Feng with a smile. Look carefully. Lu Feng unwillingly took out a golden token from his ring and waved it in front of the men in black. Instantly, all the men in black were stunned. After a long while, the black-robed men present finally regained their senses. The leader of the black-robed men trembled and pointed at Lu Feng. You're really the vice president of the Armament Guild headquarters. It's finished. It's finished. They were in big trouble this time. He never dreamed that this pretty boy was actually a big shot, and a big shot that they couldn't afford to offend. Wu, what should they do? That damned woman, how dare she frame them? This was preposterous. At this moment, the leader of the men in black was angry, and also a little afraid. After all, offending the Craftsmen's Guild was not a joke. Moreover, these people under him might not be a match for Sir Flowing Wind, AI. What should he do? Damn it, that bitch actually dared to lie to us. Brothers, let's go find her and settle the score. The head of the men in black kept thinking and finally came up with a plan that he thought was good, and that was to provide support. Anyway, he was not the mastermind of this matter, and he did not really hurt them. On the contrary, his men were injured, so he expected these people to not make things difficult for them. However, the wish was beautiful, but the reality was cruel. Even if they wanted to slip away, how could Lu Feng let them have their wish? The black-clothed man didn't have time to escape before he was firmly tied up by the thin silk thread thrown by Lu Feng. You don't have to look for her personally. I'll take you there. Lu Feng laughed evilly. What a joke, these people were the evidence, how could he let them run away? Your Excellency Lu Feng, we failed to recognize you. We didn't know your identity. Please forgive us for our offense. The leader of the men in black begged with tears in his eyes. Don't be afraid. I won't kill you. I just need you to be witnesses. Lu Feng said magnanimously. He was afraid of dirtying his hands by killing these few small characters. Thank you, Your Excellency Lu Feng, thank you. Thank you. The leader of the men in black said without any backbone. When he heard that he would not die, his heart that had been hanging in the air slowly calmed down. However, he was still a little worried that Lu Feng would go back on his words. After all, these big shots had always been fickle. You're welcome. However, I still want to ask, how did you see that I'm a pretty boy? Lu Feng repeated the same question and asked curiously. A dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. Sir Lu Feng, please don't hold it against me, and don't hold it against me. The leader of the men in black had a bitter expression on his face as he pleaded. As long as you tell me how you can tell that I'm a pretty boy, I won't argue with you. Lu Feng said stubbornly. Woo-woo. The leader of the men in black wanted to cry but had no tears. How was he supposed to answer this? What are you whining about? I'm not trying to kill you. A real man shouldn't shed tears so easily. Lu Feng looked at the pitiful appearance of the leader of the men in black and said in disagreement. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm, Your Excellency Lu Feng, I was just saying it casually. Please don't take it seriously. The leader of the men in black said helplessly. But I took it for real. Lu Feng was very aggrieved, but his eyes were so unkind that it made the leader of the men in black tremble with fear. Then what should we do? The leader of the men in black had no idea what to do and asked helplessly. That will depend on your performance. Lu Feng said with a faint smile. Yes, yes. As long as Lord Lu Feng says the word, I will perform however I want. The leader of the men in black said hurriedly. Didn't I tell you? Lu Feng said with a light smile. Ah. Don't worry, Your Excellency Lu Feng, we promise to tell you everything we know. The leader of the men in black vowed. That's good. However, you guys have to stay here first. After saying that, Lu Feng took out a palm-sized, exquisite cage from his ring and put them in it. Seeing more than 10 men in black being put into the small cage, Feng Die's face was full of curiosity. Then, he borrowed the small cage from Lu Feng and played with it in his hand. Chapter 1065, Creating Evidence, 2, Hehe. This thing was quite interesting. Feng De looked at the cage in his hand, which was not even the size of his palm, and was amazed. He really didn't expect such a small cage to be able to hold so many strange things. There were so many strange things in the divine realm. Such a portable prison did not exist in the lower realm. The disheveled old man and the others also took the small cage from Feng Die's hands curiously and passed it around one by one. They were quite curious about such a thing. Hehe. Little fox, my prison is not bad, right? Lu Feng looked at everyone's curious expressions and couldn't help but say proudly. It's passable. Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Even though she had never refined a cage like this before, she could tell with a single glance that the principles behind the cage and the storage ring were similar. They were both spatial equipment. However, for Lu Feng to carry such a cage around with him, it was clear how bored he must be. Ah! Towards Leng Ruoxue's calmness, Lu Feng was speechless. When would this little fox start to show signs of discomposure? She didn't feel a sense of accomplishment at all. Where are we going next? Leng Ruoxue looked at Lu Feng and asked. Of course I'm going to find Unrivaled to settle the score. Lu Feng gritted his teeth and said, damn bitch. He even dared to kill him, humph. He didn't plan to let that woman off anyway. This time, he could settle both old and new scores together. Alright, he said. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She had originally wanted to wait until the disheveled old man's matter was settled before making time to deal with Unrivaled. However, she seemed to have made Unrivaled impatient. Since she was so kind to them, they would settle the grudge between them and Unrivaled first. After making the decision, the little peacock immediately changed direction and flew towards Fiery City. When Leng Ruoxue and the rest arrived at Yanhua City, it was already half a month later. Leng Ruoxue was initially worried that Unrivaled would hide back in the firmament after what she had done. However, when she saw Unrivaled at the Blacksmith's Guild in Yanhua City, she was relieved. After all, if Unrivaled had really returned to the immortal realm, it would be difficult for her to make a move. At the Blacksmith Guild in Fiery City. At this moment, Mo Yen and the rest were gathered in the meeting room, discussing the development of the Divine Continent's Craftsman's Guild. However, they were interrupted by Leng Ruoxue and the others who suddenly pushed the door open. Little girls, why are you back so soon? Mo Yen looked at the people in front of him and asked in confusion. Did they find the divine fire so quickly? I came back to do something. Leng Ruoxue glanced at Unrivaled, who was sitting beside Mo Yen, and said calmly. Oh. Mo Yen responded faintly, but the doubts in his heart grew. Did something happen that he didn't know about? Unrivaled, you've done a good job. Lu Feng said angrily. What did I do? Don't wrong me. Unrivaled said calmly, her expression calm. Lu Feng, what did she do? Mo Yen asked directly. No wonder these people had suddenly rushed back. It seemed that Unrivaled had done something she shouldn't have. This vicious woman actually sent people to kill us. Lu Feng roared angrily. The moment he said that, most of the higher-ups were so scared that they broke out in cold sweat. There's such a thing. Mo Yen narrowed his eyes, clearly a little displeased. Although he didn't think that Unrivaled's men would succeed, sending someone to kill someone he valued was challenging his bottom line in itself. Thus, he definitely wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. Lu Feng, if you don't have any evidence, don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, if the elders in the headquarters accuse you of framing your colleagues, it would not be good. Unrivaled reminded him with a light smile. You don't have to worry about that. Lu Feng said unhappily. However, he was suspicious of Unrivaled's calmness and couldn't help but be on guard. I'm just giving you a kind reminder. Rume shrugged her shoulders and said disapprovingly. Vice President Yin doesn't want to admit that he sent people to kill us. Leng Ruoxue said. Of course, unless you can produce evidence. Rume said with a smile. What if we can, T? Leng Ruoxue retorted. You're framing me. I'll report this to the Elder Council and ask them to seek justice for me. Rume said matter-of-factly. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0 VEL. O. Vice President Yin, may I ask what kind of evidence is needed? Leng Ruoxue asked again. During this confrontation, she could clearly feel that Rume had changed. She had become smarter and calmer. Witnesses and physical evidence are fine. Rume said very calmly. Oh. Leng Ruoxue replied indifferently. She then turned to Lu Feng and the rest, let's go. Ah. Lu Feng was stunned and looked at Leng Ruoxue in confusion. His dark eyes were filled with question marks. Why did she have to leave? Could it be that he wasn't going to find Rume to settle the score? Let's go find evidence of Vice President Yin's crimes. Leng Ruoxue reminded softly. However, her soft voice was loud enough for everyone to hear her clearly. Oh. Good. Lu Feng nodded his head in a daze. Although he had some doubts, he still trusted Leng Ruoxue more. Who asked this little girl to be a little fox? Sir Mo Yen, we'll still be living in our old courtyard, is that okay? Leng Ruoxue turned around and asked. Yes, I've been keeping the courtyard for you all this time. Mo Yen nodded. Thank you. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she took the lead and walked out of the meeting room. When she returned to her former residence, Leng Ruoxue realized that the butler and the others were still there. Miss Leng, you're back. The butler said happily when he saw Leng Ruoxue and the others. Why are you guys still here? Leng Ruoxue didn't understand. Didn't she tell these people to follow Diren before she left? After you left, Sir Mo Yen let us continue to live here. He has already given this place to you. From now on, we, including Diren, are all your people. The butler told the truth. My family's young miss doesn't accept just anyone, stop dreaming. Fengde said with dissatisfaction. Ah. His Excellency Mo Yen said that we are only Miss Ling's servants, different from you. The butler wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and quickly explained. Chapter 1066, Creating Evidence, 3, Oh. This is more like it. Fengde nodded with satisfaction. If he didn't need the housekeeper and the others to cover up, he would have already driven away Diren's former servants and subordinates. Miss Leng, I've sent someone to clean your room every day. You can stay there directly. The butler said in a fawning manner. Thank you. Don't let anyone disturb us. Leng Ruoxue ordered. All right, he said. Yes, the butler replied and left. Leng Ruoxue and the others arrived at the main hall. After they found their seats, Lu Feng asked impatiently, Little Fox, why don't you let me show you the evidence? Don't you notice that Rume is a little different? If you take out those witnesses now, she won't admit it and might even bite us. Leng Ruoxue analyzed calmly. Yes, she's a little too calm. It seems like she's prepared for this. Lu Feng nodded. So, now is not the time. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly. Ah. How long do we have to wait? Lu Feng couldn't wait any longer. He wanted to deal with that bitch, Rume, right now. Calm down. Rume won't be able to escape. Leng Ruoxue said confidently. After she finished speaking, she gave the demon a look and the two of them returned to their room in tacit understanding. After Leng Ruoxue left, Lu Feng saw that the rest of them looked normal and could not help but ask, why aren't you guys worried at all? Don't you all want to get rid of Rume as soon as possible? What's there to be anxious about? Miss always says to cast a long line to catch a big fish. We're waiting for the big fish. Feng De said disapprovingly. Lu Feng, calm down. Young lady has her own plans. Chen Wu also advised. Do you really believe that the little fox will have a good idea? Although Lu Feng knew that these people would listen to Leng Ruoxu's every word, he did not expect them to worship the little fox so blindly. Wasn't this poison too deep? She's my family's young miss. If I don't believe her, who should I believe? Moreover, young lattice words have always been right. Lu Tao also said matter-of-factly. Ah. Lu Feng was speechless, but he was more envious. Why didn't he have such a group of subordinates? Let's go back to our room and rest. We've been flying for so long, it's quite tiring. Feng De patted Lu Feng's shoulder sympathetically and said. After that, everyone followed Feng De and left the main hall. In the blink of an eye, Lu Feng was the only one left in the hall. Lu Feng sat alone for a while before leaving. At night, Mo Yen and Lu Yu arrived at Leng Ruoxue and the others' residence. Seeing everyone's refreshed appearance, he knew that they had already rested well. After all, they had come at the right time. Little girl, what's going on? Mo Yen couldn't help but ask as soon as he sat down in the main hall. That bitch sent people to kill us. Before Leng Ruoxue could answer, Lu Feng interrupted her angrily. Then, he told Mo Yen and Lu Yu what had happened. So, you've brought those people back? Mo Yen asked after hearing this. Yes. Lu Feng nodded. Since you've brought the witness back, what are you waiting for? You should have brought out the witness earlier, then Unrivaled would have nothing to say, right? Lu Yue asked, puzzled. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xn0 VEL. The little fox said that Unrivaled might go back on her word if we only brought out a witness, so we didn't bring it out. Lu Feng explained. The little girl is right. Recently, Unrivaled has been in contact with the headquarters quite frequently. I didn't think much about it before, but it seems like she's preparing a backup plan. I'm sure she's already prepared everything. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been so calm in the meeting room. Mo Yen said after thinking for a while. Then what should we do? She even dared to kill my younger brother. Even if you always cover for her and don't punish her, I won't let her off. Lu Yue said somewhat angrily. I won't let her off either, but some of the elders in the headquarters will definitely speak up for her. Moreover, it's not enough to just have witnesses. It'll be even better if we have physical evidence. Mo Yen said after thinking for a while. Evidence? Since she's prepared a backup plan, let's create some physical evidence for her. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly. A scheming look flashed across her beautiful eyes. It was a fact that Unrivaled wanted to kill them anyway, so whatever she did would not be considered too much. Ah. What do you want to do? Lu Yu's forehead was filled with black lines. She thought to herself, a woman's heart is indeed the most vicious. Mo Yen and Lu Feng were right, no matter who you offend, you should never provoke this little pervert, look. He even thought of creating evidence. Whoever provoked her would not have a good ending. To create evidence that she wanted to kill us, of course. She wants it, doesn't she? Leng Ruoxue said with a smile, her beautiful face full of innocence. How? Lu Feng asked with great interest. He hated Unrivaled to the core now, so he didn't care what method the little fox used. In any case, it was fine as long as he could vent his anger. You'll know when the time comes. Leng Ruoxue said mysteriously, keeping him in suspense. Little fox, let me join in. We're business partners. Lu Feng reminded. Ah. You still remember this. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. That was something that happened a long time ago. She thought that Lu Feng had forgotten about it. After all, Lu Feng had not mentioned this matter recently. Of course I remember. It's just that I've been too busy recently and didn't have the time to care about it. Actually, he had really forgotten about it. After all, there had been a lot of things going on recently, and Unrivaled hadn't been up to any big mischief, so he had overlooked it. Then how do you want to participate? Len Ruoshua asked helplessly. Hee. If you want to create any evidence, you have to count me in. Lu Feng said as if he feared that the world would not be in chaos. All right then. However, you'll have to wait until late at night. Len Ruoshua nodded. Yes, I understand. The dark and windy night is the time to do bad things. Lu Feng said as if he was a kindred spirit. Chapter 1067, Creating Evidence, 4, Let's do it tonight then. Len Ruoshua thought for a moment and decided that it was better to wait for them to launch a surprise attack. Yes. Lu Feng nodded excitedly. Little girl, aren't you going to take me there? Mo Yen said gloomily. Why didn't this little girl think of him when she wanted to do something bad? This made his heart feel extremely unbalanced. What are you doing? You have to preserve your innocence and uphold justice for us. Len Ruoshua reminded. Ah. Mo Yen was speechless. Why did he have to keep his innocence? Even if he was in the same boat, he could still uphold justice. Who dared to say that he was not righteous? Humph. The little fox is right, you're not suitable for this kind of thing. Lu Feng also hurriedly said. Which part of me is not suitable? Mo Yen retorted. You look so righteous. Unlike me, in the eyes of those old fogies, I'm already beyond saving. Hee. Lu Feng said matter-of-factly. Hearing Lu Feng's twisted logic, Mo Yen was speechless. Moreover, he also understood that the little girl had no intention of letting him participate in this matter, and Lu Feng was also involved, so he had a chance. Sob. He was a little regretful. If he had known this would happen, he would have left Fiery City with them. Don't cry. I still need you to uphold justice for my brother. Seeing Mo Yan's conflicted and depressed expression, Lu Yu quickly comforted him. After all, he knew his own limits. Although this matter involved his younger brother, it was still an internal matter of the Craftsmen's Guild. If he got involved, it would make the guild lose face. Therefore, he just had to watch the show. I'm not crying. Mo Yen growled angrily. Lu Yu's comforting words were clearly adding fuel to the fire. At least he thought so. Good. He didn't cry. You didn't cry. Lu Yu said helplessly. He was clearly treating Mo Yen like a child. Seeing their interaction, Len Ruoshua could not help but chuckle. If outsiders knew that the godlike figure in the eyes of the artifact masters could actually have such a childish side, what would they think? What's so funny? Mo Yen glared at Len Ruoshua and said in an unpleasant tone. Ha. You guys do as you please. I'll go make some preparations. Len Ruoshua laughed as she pulled the evildoer along with Lu Feng. The three of them left together. Late at night. Len Ruoshua removed the chi from her bracelet and instructed the chi to cast an invisibility spell on the three of them. The three of them then headed towards Unrivaled's courtyard. Hee. Little girl, I didn't expect your beastie to have such ability. On the way, Lu Feng's eyes were fixed on Richard, his handsome face full of envy. Woo! Why is this little fox's luck so good? To be able to obtain such a rare beast, heavens ah! You're so unfair. He couldn't help but complain in his heart. Yes. Len Ruoshua nodded her head calmly and did not say anything else. However, her coldness did not affect Lu Feng's passion towards the judge. Don't look at me like that. Otherwise, I'll bite you. The referee was frightened by Lu Feng's gaze and warned him with some fear. Hee. I really admire you. How about following me in the future? Lu Feng fearlessly tried to corner Len Ruoxue again, but the referee did not even bother with him. Instead, he turned his head to the other side. Don't ignore me. I really admire you, this is the first time I've seen Beastie use the invisibility technique. Seeing that Yao was ignoring him, Lu Feng continued to pester him. Lu Feng, don't disturb my Beastie. Len Ruoxue saw that Yi was not paying any attention to her, and Lu Feng was pestering her endlessly, so she finally couldn't help but speak up. I'm not. I'm stealing your girl. Can't you tell? Lu Feng said with a smile. I can tell, but you won't succeed. Len Ruoxue replied nonchalantly. Are you that confident that your Beastie won't be snatched away by me? Lu Feng said, not willing to admit defeat. If you don't believe me, you can try. If any of my Beastie wants to follow you, I won't stop them. Len Ruoxue said confidently. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm, you said it yourself. Don't you regret this? Lu Feng said, somewhat worried. Don't worry, I won't regret it. I always keep my word. Len Ruoxue grinned. Humph. How could her Beastie be taken away by others? Those cute Beastie were more black-bellied than the other. Lu Feng was not their opponent at all. As they conversed, they had already arrived outside Unrivaled courtyard. Lu Feng, I'll leave the lock-picking to you. Len Ruoxue said to Lu Feng as she looked at the tightly shut door. Why? Do you think it's befitting of my status to ask me to do such a small thing? Lu Feng pretended to be unhappy. It's very fitting. The blacksmith should be more skilled at picking locks, so this matter has to be done by you. Len Ruoxue laughed evilly. The main reason she brought Lu Feng here was to make him do this, otherwise, she wouldn't have let Lu Feng follow her. Ah! Lu Feng wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and was a little speechless. This was the first time he had heard that armament masters were good at picking locks. However, after thinking about it carefully, what this little girl said made sense. After all, in terms of familiarity with locks, there was really no one who could compare to a blacksmith. With this in mind, he resigned himself to his fate and took out his tools. He randomly tapped a few times on the keyhole, only to hear a ta. With a crisp sound, the lock was opened. How professional! Len Ruoxue exclaimed in admiration. The locks in the Craftsman's Guild were all controlled by a password, so it was not an easy task to pry it open without alerting the master. However, to Lu Feng, this was an extremely simple task. After all, he was the vice president of the Craftsman's Guild headquarters. Ah! Please! Lu Feng said somewhat embarrassedly. Could he say that a portion of these locks were made by him? The answer was no. After opening the door, Len Ruoxue, the three humans, and the beast swaggered into the courtyard. Unrivaled's residence was similar in both layout and size to their own. With Lu Feng leading the way, they easily found Unrivaled's room. Chapter 1068, Creating Evidence, 5. Just as they reached the door of the room, the three people and one beast heard voices coming from inside. Instantly, the three of them stopped in their tracks with great tacit understanding and began to eavesdrop. In the room, Unrivaled was lying naked on the bed, and beside her was a similarly naked man. From his appearance, the man looked to be in his 30s. He was slightly chubby and looked like someone who had been pampered all year round. His strength was comparable to Unrivaled's, and they were both divine kings. At this moment, the two of them were chatting. However, from their state, they must have just experienced an intense hand-to-hand battle. Don't you also want to get rid of Lu Feng? Why did you ask me to stop? Unrivaled questioned, a little displeased. When she saw Lu Feng, that wretched girl, and the others today, she knew that the people she had sent had failed. However, she wasn't afraid that this matter would be exposed. It was precisely because she had the support of this man behind her, in addition to her position in the Armament Guild, that she believed that unless the president and the Great Elder personally spoke, no one would dare to touch her. I do want to get rid of him, but he has returned to Fiery City and knows that you sent people to kill them. If he continues to attack now, wouldn't that be courting death? Moreover, I've received news that that old man has also left the Divine Realm and come here. Thus, it's all the more reason why we can't act now. The man explained, his hand caressing Inrumai's body. What? The Great Elder is here too. Inrumai was startled, and a sense of uneasiness immediately welled up in her heart. That old man had always disliked her. If he really came here, then she really wouldn't be able to do anything to Lu Feng and that wretched girl. The most powerful person in the Armament Guild headquarters was the president, followed by the vice president. As for the Elders Guild, they usually did not manage anything. They only played a supervisory role in the operations of the Armament Guild headquarters. However, if any of their higher-ups were impeached by the Elders Guild for misconduct, even if the president appeared, he was afraid that he would not be able to protect them. As a result, even though she was the vice president of the Craftsmen's Guild, Inrumai hated hearing the words Elders Guild. And the one with the most power in the Council of Elders was naturally the Great Elder. That old man's status in the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters was extraordinary, and even the guild leader had to give him some face. At the same time, he also had another identity, and that was Mo Yan's master. Therefore, although she dared to attack Lu Feng, she did not dare to touch a single hair on Mo Yan's head, even though she hated Mo Yan to the core. Yes. The man nodded. He did not welcome the old man, but he could not stop him. What do we do now? That old man was even more protective than Mo Yan and was even more unreasonable. As long as he was certain of something, he didn't care if there was evidence. Don't be afraid, I think. He wouldn't stand up for Lu Feng. After all, he doesn't like Lu Feng. The man guessed. However, Ling Xiaoyu is also one of the people I want to kill. Won't he stand up for his grand disciple? Inrumai said uncertainly in her heart. When she heard that the first elder was here, she was truly a little afraid. In the Armament Guild headquarters, there was no one who wasn't afraid of that old man. Even the president had to go along with him. If the Great Elder is calculative about this matter, you can just insist that you only want to kill Lu Feng. The man suggested. Will this work? Inrumai was a little hesitant. That old man wasn't that easy to deceive. It would be a wonder if he believed her words. Do you have a better idea? The man asked impatiently. No, I didn't, Inrumai said, a little out of her wits. The first elder's arrival had disrupted all of her plans, and she didn't know how to deal with it. Then do as I say. The man said in a domineering manner. You have to help me. Inrumai hugged the man's arm and said coyly. Don't worry, of course I'll help you. The man promised. With that, he flipped over and pressed Inrumai under him again. Hearing the intermittent moans coming from the room, and then looking at Lu Feng's dark face, Len Ruoxue really didn't know how to comfort him. However, she was more interested to know what kind of outrageous things Lu Feng had done that even made Inrumai want to kill him. Of course, he also wanted to get rid of Inrumai. Could it be that love turned into hate? When she thought of this, she couldn't help but look at Lu Feng suggestively. You're not allowed to look at me like that. Lu Feng transmitted his voice angrily. Fuck. This adulterous couple really thought he was a bun. Did he look that easy to bully? Thinking of this, Lu Feng was filled with hatred. And the old man they were talking about, yes, they were right. The old man liked to find trouble with him, but there was a reason for that. Don't be sad, I won't let them have their way. Len Ruoxue patted Lu Feng's head as if he was a puppy and consoled him. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xn0 VEL. Calm, I'm not sad. Lu Feng quibbled. Damn it, how was he sad? He was just angry. Didn't that adulterous couple think that he didn't have any backing? Humph. He would definitely make them regret it. Yes, yes, you're not sad. You're just a little sad. Let's move. Len Ruoxua laughed evilly. Let's move. Lu Feng said helplessly, AI. He was too lazy to defend himself because he knew that this little fox had already determined that he was sad and sad. You guys keep a lookout for me. I'll go in and get the evidence. Len Ruoxua made the necessary arrangements. According to the original plan, the evildoer was supposed to enter with her. However, under the current circumstances, it was not appropriate for the evildoer to enter. Because she instinctively didn't want the evildoer to see another woman's body. You're not allowed to go in, let him in. I'm going in. You guys keep watch. The evil demon and Lu Feng said in unison. After that, the two of them looked at each other and smiled. All right then. Just let Lu Feng go in by himself. Len Ruoxua said helplessly. Yes, yes. Lu Feng nodded. Humph. He wanted to go in and take revenge. Immediately, Lu Feng was about to push the door open and enter, but he was pulled back by the demon. What's wrong? Lu Feng didn't understand until the evildoer whispered a few words to him. The two men laughed evilly in tacit understanding before he stepped into Rumai's room. After Lu Feng entered, Len Ruoxua and the demon stood outside the room to keep a lookout for him. Looking at the evildoer's mysterious expression, Len Ruoxua could not help but ask curiously, what did you say to Lu Feng? He. This is a secret between men. The demon's face was slightly red as he said in embarrassment. A secret between men, is it? Len Ruoxua said with a half-smile. Ah. I'll just tell you. Seeing Shua Air's expression, the evildoer said fearfully before whispering into Len Ruoxua's ear. You're really bad, but this is a good idea. Len Ruoxua nodded her head in satisfaction, but she felt helpless in her heart. He's a monster. However, she liked it. To deal with this kind of woman, killing her is simply letting her off easy. The demon said disdainfully. Yes, we can't let her die so easily. Ruhua, I think it's too easy on her. Len Ruoxua said regretfully. However, Ruhua had been killed by Rumai, and it was too late for her to stop it when she found out. Otherwise, Ruhua wouldn't have died so easily. Let's count Ruhua's share on this woman. In any case, their master and disciple, the demon said matter-of-factly. Yes, yes. Len Ruoxua nodded in agreement. At the same time, Lu Feng walked out of Rumai's room. That's enough, let's retreat. Lu Feng suggested. Let's go. Len Ruoxua and the demon said. Then, the three people and one beast quietly left Rumai's courtyard. On the way back, Len Ruoxua asked about the identity of the man beside Rumai out of curiosity. He's the second elder of the Blacksmith Guild's Elder Council, a rather annoying old man. But why didn't Mo Yen tell me that the old man had come to Fiery City? After Lu Feng explained the man's identity, he was a little puzzled. Maybe Mo Yen doesn't know that the old man is here. Len Ruoxua mimicked Lu Feng's tone and guessed. No, I have to ask him. You guys go back and rest. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he hurriedly went to find Mo Yen, and Mo Yen indeed did not receive any news of the second elder coming to Fiery City. Mo Yen's room. Mo Yen looked at Lu Feng in surprise and said, Are you sure? The second elder really came? Of course, I saw him. He's having an affair with Rumai. If you go catch them in the act now, you should be able to catch them. Lu Feng teased. Why would I go catch an adulterer? It's none of my business what they do. Mo Yen said, a little speechless. He. If we catch them in the act, second elder won't be able to speak up for Rumai anymore. This is very beneficial to us. In addition, I heard from the second elder that the first elder has also come. Lu Feng continued. Chapter 1069, Coaxing, 1, Master is here too. Then you have to be careful. Mo Yen said with a hint of mockery. Humph. I'm not afraid. No matter how fierce that old man is, what can he do to me? Lu Feng said disapprovingly. Since he was young, he had never been afraid of that old man. On the contrary, he could always make that old man stomp his feet in anger, hee. Lu Feng, Master is an elder after all, you should give in to him. He's not young anymore, if you really anger him to the point that something bad happens, you'll regret it. Mo Yen advised helplessly. He didn't know why, but his master and Lu Feng never got along. As long as there was an opportunity, the two would fight like roosters, ai. There was nothing he could do about this. Don't worry, that old man is in good health. Besides, have you ever heard of any emperor being angered to death? Lu Feng said calmly, humph. If it wasn't for that old man always looking for trouble with him, he wouldn't be so bored as to take the initiative to provoke that old man. Ai. Mo Yen felt helpless when he saw that Lu Feng did not take the great elder seriously. What are you sighing for? The most important thing right now is to deal with Unrivaled and second elder, not that old man. Do you understand? Lu Feng reminded. Do you really want me to catch them in the act of adultery? I don't have that fetish. Mo Yen said, a little speechless. Even if you don't want to go, you can arrange for someone to find out about their affair. Hee. Lu Feng laughed evilly. He wanted to ruin the reputation of that adulterous couple and make them too ashamed to face anyone in the future. He also wanted to torture them well since they dared to have ideas about him. All right then. Mo Yen said after thinking for a while. He then called his subordinate and whispered something in his ear. After receiving the order, the subordinate went to carry out the mission. The next day. The news of Unrivaled and the second elder of the Craftsmen's Guild spread throughout the entire fiery city. In Unrivaled's room. When Unrivaled received the news, she flew into a rage and smashed everything that could be thrown in the room. Even so, it was difficult to quell the anger in her heart. Damn it, who spread this news? If I find out, I'll cut him into 8 pieces. Alright, have you had enough? What's the use of being angry now that things have come to this? The second elder, who was sitting on the chair, said helplessly. He was also annoyed, but he wouldn't lose his mind like Unrivaled. Now that everyone knows that we have such a relationship, it will be difficult for you to speak up for me in the future. Unrivaled reminded him. This was what made her feel the most depressed. Then what do you want to do? Do you want me to send people to capture President Lu and the others so that you can vent your anger? The second elder said, somewhat annoyed. No matter how high that woman's status was, it could not change this fact. He had a deep understanding of this. Humph. They must be the ones who spread the news. Unrivaled said hatefully. Yesterday, President Lu had suddenly brought a group of people to look for her and happened to discover her relationship with the second elder. Today, this matter had spread throughout the entire fiery city, so it was difficult for her not to pin the person who had leaked the news on President Lu and his group. It's impossible for them to have done it. After they discovered our matter yesterday, I've been sending people to keep an eye on them. They didn't have the chance to enter the Blacksmith's Guild at all, so how could they have leaked this matter out? The second elder was certain that President Lu and the others were not the ones who did this. Besides, President Lu and the others did not recognize him. That's Lu Feng, Leng Ruoxue, and the others. They must be the ones who spread the news. Unrivaled said after some thought. No one knows that I've come to Fiery City. Moreover, the people I sent to monitor them yesterday also didn't see them leave. The second elder said with a slight headache. This was really strange. His incident was widely publicized by his opponents, but he could not find any suspects. All the people who could have done this were under his surveillance. Therefore, they were all eliminated. Thinking of this, he could not help but feel a little depressed. Could it be Mo Yen? Rume made wild guesses in her panic. Mo Yen doesn't even know I'm here. The second elder ruled out the possibility again. Then who could it be? Did a ghost really appear? Rume roared, a little angry. AI. If you can't figure it out, then don't think about it anymore. Anyway, it has already happened, and there's no point in us being angry. The second elder said in an open-minded manner. In contrast to Rume and the second elder's anger, Len Ruoxue and the others were calm. No matter how explosive the news was in the city, they were not affected in the slightest. In the garden, Len Ruoxue and the others comfortably took out their own recliners and basked in the sun. Lu Feng, on the other hand, was constantly trying to please Ling. Unfortunately, Ling did not even bother to look at him. He was annoyed by his pestering and decided to wrap himself around his master's arm. No matter how thick-skinned Lu Feng was, he did not dare to pester his master. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm, Ling, don't be like this. Can you look at me? Lu Feng said pitifully after he had maintained a certain distance from Len Ruoxue. Ling. Lu Feng saw that Ling didn't respond and didn't give up. Feng De couldn't stand it anymore after he didn't get any response from Ling after calling him a few times. He patted Lu Feng's shoulder and said, "Don't even think about Ling, he won't go with you." Why? How am I not as good as that little fox? I will treat it better than the little fox. Lu Feng said with confidence. Even so, it won't go with you. It's not interested in you. Feng De said honestly. Ah. Then what will make it interested in me? Lu Feng shamelessly asked. It's impossible in this life. Maybe you can try to fight for it in your next life. Feng De laughed evilly and teased. I won't give up so easily. Lu Feng said, full of fighting spirit. People always say that what can't be obtained is the best. Therefore, he must work hard to fight for it. Otherwise, he's afraid that he will regret it for the rest of his life. Do as you wish. Feng De saw how stubborn Lu Feng was, he helplessly shook his head and stopped talking. Poor Lu Feng. He really wouldn't turn back until he hit a wall. Just like that, Lu Feng continued to pester Ling for another 2 days. Not only did he not make any progress, he even angered Ling so much that Ling bit him ruthlessly. Only after that did Lu Feng become much more obedient. Chapter 1070, Coaxing, 2. Looking at Lu Feng who was lying on the bed pretending to be sick, Len Ruoxue was both angry and amused. Although he was bitten by Ling, didn't she give him a pill? He even pretended to be sick, sigh. He was really getting more and more childish. Little fox, I'm weak all over, so I won't entertain you. Lu Feng pretended to be weak. Okay, just lie down. Don't worry about me. Len Ruoxue said with a smile. Oh right, I forgot to tell you, an old man came just now and said he wanted to see you. Len Ruoxue continued. Old man? What old man? Lu Feng asked, somewhat puzzled. That old man said he's the head elder of the Craftsmen's Guild. Len Ruoxue laughed evilly. After waiting for 2 days, the heavyweight first elder had finally arrived, hee. They could also begin to act. What? How did he get here so quickly? Lu Feng was shocked and immediately jumped up from the bed. Then, he immediately put on his clothes and cleaned up. His speed was so fast that it made people speechless. What's wrong? You're not pretending to be sick anymore. Len Ruoxue chuckled as she asked. I'm not pretending to be sick, I'm really sick, okay? Lu Feng said awkwardly. He couldn't let that old man know about this. Otherwise, that old man would definitely laugh at him to death. Good. You're really sick, but I think you've almost recovered, so come with me to see the great elder. Len Ruoxue reminded. Then. Let's go. Lu Feng said somewhat unwillingly. After that, the two of them came to the main hall. In the main hall, Mo Yen accompanied the Great Elder and sat on the main seat, while Yin Rume and the second elder sat below them. The four of them were chatting casually. As for Feng De and the others, they were all gathered in the main hall, ready to watch the show. When they saw Leng Ruoxue and Lu Feng enter the main hall, the Great Elder and Mo Yen stopped their conversation and turned to look at the two. I heard you're sick. The first elder took a sip of tea and spoke indifferently. It's not your fault. Lu Feng said unhappily, but he was extremely depressed in his heart. Damn it, this old man still found out. Then who's it to do with? First elder raised his eyelids and asked in a calm voice. This is my own business. Lu Feng said in an unpleasant tone. Oh. The first elder acknowledged him and ignored Lu Feng. He turned his gaze to the second elder and Yin Rume. However, the first elder only stared at the second elder and Yin Rume without saying anything. However, his probing gaze made the two of them shudder. After sizing him up for a long time, the Great Elder said with a faint smile, I just entered Fiery City and heard about the good things between the two of you. Second Elder, it's not that I want to criticize you, but after such a thing happened, you should at least give Vice President Yin an explanation. After all, she's a woman. If her reputation is damaged, it'll be difficult for her to find a good man in the future. Ah. Great Elder, please don't spread rumors. That's just a rumor. The second elder quickly denied it, but in his heart, he hated the first elder to death. Fuck, he knew that this old man was up to no good. As a matter of fact, he had touched on a sore spot. There's a saying that there's no smoke without fire. If there was really no trace of it, this matter would not have been spread so widely. As the higher-ups of the Craftsmen's Guild, your words and actions are very important and you should set an example for the people below. So, this matter must be handled well. Otherwise, what would our Craftsmen's Guild be? The First Elder said in an unusually serious manner. First Elder, don't worry. I will find the person who spread the news and not let his evil plan succeed. The Second Elder quickly promised. I'm not talking about that. Second Elder, you've misunderstood. The First Elder said with a faint smile. Ah. Then what does Grand Elder mean? The Second Elder was a little puzzled. What was this old man up to? Can't you make yourself clear? He couldn't help but complain in his heart. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xn0 VEL. For something like this to happen, no matter who did it, the impact has already been made. So, let's not talk about whether you can find the person who spread the news. Even if you can find him, what can you do? In fact, what you should do now is to give Vice President Yin a title. After all, your relationship can't be hidden anymore. The First Elder kindly reminded. This won't do. The Second Elder hurriedly refused. Fuck, if he really brought Yin Rume home, that tigress at home would definitely cause a ruckus. You said no. The First Elder narrowed his eyes and said in a slightly displeased manner. First Elder, you should be aware of my family's situation. Vice Guild Leader Yin isn't suitable to marry into my family. The Second Elder said helplessly. Do you want to sleep with Vice President Yin for free? I'm telling you, you can't do that. With our Vice President Yin's position in the Armament Guild headquarters, it's more than enough to marry you. Even if she can't be the first wife, at least give her the title of a concubine. I won't agree to such an unclear request. The Great Elder was so angry that he blew at his beard and glared at him. The Second Elder was depressed. It looked like this old man was eager to stir up trouble. If he really got involved in this matter, he was afraid that he would not be able to deal with the aftermath. However, Yin Rume, who didn't dare to make a sound, was even more depressed than the Second Elder. Fuck, she was the dignified vice president of the Armament Guild headquarters. What kind of man couldn't she have? Could it be that she could only be a concubine to a rotten old man? However, she didn't dare to say this in front of the great elder, so she could only swallow her anger and sulk. When Len Ruoshua heard first elder's words, she almost burst out laughing. This old man is quite cute. He actually thought of making Inrume become the second elder's concubine. This idea was really too original. However, Inrume definitely wouldn't accept this idea. At the thought of this, Len Ruoksha's beautiful eyes could not help but pace back and forth between Inrume and second elder. She saw with her own eyes how their expressions changed like a color palette. Finally, she fixed her gaze on first elder. From his appearance, this old man looked to be around 40 years old. He was very handsome, and his half-squinted eyes were full of light. He often had a smile on his face, giving off an amiable feeling. However, Len Ruoshua believed that this old man was definitely a two-faced person. Otherwise, second elder and Inrume wouldn't have been so depressed that they wanted to bang their heads against the wall just because of a few words from him. Chapter 1071, Coaxing, 3. It's settled like this, it's better to choose a day than the present, today you will do the marriage. I'll officiate your wedding. First elder didn't care whether second elder and Inrume agreed or not and directly made the final decision. Great elder. How could this matter be decided so rashly? The second elder said in a last-ditch struggle. Sloppy? I'm doing this for your own good. Why don't you guys appreciate it? The great elder sighed, his handsome face filled with disappointment. Master, I think the second elder and Vice President Ian are probably feeling shy. Actually, they're definitely willing. Mo Yen said with a smirk. Master was really too bad, he actually thought of such a trick. The older the ginger, the spicier it was indeed. This morning, as soon as his master had arrived in Yanhua City, he had immediately reported everything that had happened recently to his master. Naturally, his master had been extremely angry after hearing this, so he had immediately gone to the little girl's residence and even called the second elder and Inrume over. It was clear that he wanted to settle this matter here, so as her disciple, he naturally had to cooperate. Shy. Hee hee. This isn't the second elder's first time getting married, and Vice President Ian isn't a virgin anymore, so what's there to be shy about? The first elder teased with a smile. Grand elder, I don't agree with this. Suddenly, Inrume's voice entered everyone's ears. You don't agree? First elder shot a warning look at Inrume and spoke in a cold tone. Of course I don't agree. I'm the Armament Guild's vice president, how can I be someone else's concubine? Inrume suppressed the fear in her heart and shouted. After such a scandal, what do you want to do instead of being a concubine? A bed-warming servant? First elder pretended to be confused and then added, it's not impossible to be a bed-warming servant girl. Since this is your wish, I'll fulfill it. From now on, you're second elder's bed-warming servant girl. I'm the vice president of the Armament Guild headquarters. Inrume warned through gritted teeth. She almost vomited blood from anger at this old man who pretended to be crazy. It wasn't nice for the vice president to be a bed-warming servant. On behalf of the Craftsmen's Guild, I will demote you to an ordinary craftsman. This way, you can have no more worries. The first elder muttered to himself for a moment before continuing. Great elder, you can't do that. I didn't do anything wrong, how can you demote me? Inrume shouted angrily. Although she had always been afraid of the great elder, this was a matter of great importance that concerned her status, so she had to fight for justice. As for the great elder, he closed his eyes as if he hadn't heard Inrume's words. Who said you didn't make any mistakes? You did send people to kill us. Don't you know what kind of crime it is to hunt down your colleagues? At this moment, Lu Fengyun spoke in a calm and casual manner. What evidence do you have? Don't talk nonsense without evidence. Inrume's attitude was very unyielding, as if she was very confident. Of course I have evidence. I have witnesses and physical evidence. Lu Feng said with a smirk. Since you have evidence, then show it to me. If you can, I will ask the Great Elder to uphold justice. Yin Rumei said confidently. You should recognize these people, right? Lu Feng took out an exquisite and small cage from his ring and waved it in front of Yin Rumei's eyes. I don't know him. I don't just recognize any Tom, Dick, or Harry. Yin Rumei said disdainfully. Rumei, how can you be so cruel? As the saying goes, one night as husband and wife means 100 days of love. We've spent at least a few nights together, which is at least enough for a year. You can't be so heartless. In the cage, the leader of the men in black said with a sad face. What are you talking about? I don't even know you. Yin Rumai's beautiful face was flushed red. She was clearly very angry. Rumei, I know that you have a mole on your left thigh, one on your chest, and, the leader of the black-robed men wanted to spill everything he knew, but he was interrupted by Yin Rumei. Shut up. What nonsense are you talking about? Yin Rumei was furious. If this man wasn't still locked up in the cage, she would have chopped him into pieces. He actually dared to ruin her reputation, he really didn't know what was good for him. I'm telling the truth. The leader of the men in black said in an extremely aggrieved manner. I can prove that boss is telling the truth. At this time, another black-clothed person in the cage shouted. Can you prove it? How do you know what's on Vice President Yin? Lu Feng asked curiously. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm, because, I have an affair with her too. The man said bravely. Damn it, don't talk nonsense. I don't even know you. Yin Rumai's heart was filled with anger, and she was so angry that she stepped forward to snatch the cage from Lu Feng's hands. However, how could Lu Feng let her do as she wished? He dodged lightly and dodged Yin Rumai's snatching. Are you planning to silence me? Lu Feng asked with a faint smile. I won't allow them to talk nonsense here. Yin Rumai's anger shot up to the top of her head. At this moment, she was so angry that smoke was coming out of her 7 orifices, and her whole body was trembling. I'm not talking nonsense. I still have the love token you gave me. After the man finished speaking, he took out a pink woman's undergarments from his arms. There was a small, Mei, character at the hem of the clothes. I also have one. The leader of the men in black also took out an identical, translucent, pink object and shook it in front of Yin Rumai's eyes. When the rest of the men in black saw this, they also shyly took out the same thing from their clothes. It was obvious that these were love tokens that Yin Rumei had given them. Why do you all have it? Lu Feng's eyes widened as he spoke in disbelief. We all had improper relationships with her. The dozen or so men in black said in embarrassment. After they finished speaking, they lowered their heads in unison. In the eyes of the crowd, they were clearly embarrassed. Hee. I really didn't expect Vice Guild leader Yin to be so capable. Lu Feng laughed very happily, but in his heart, he couldn't help but sigh. Seeing Yin Rumei so angry that she was about to explode, he was overjoyed. Chapter 1072, Coaxing, 4, They're framing me. I don't even know them, let alone have any relationship with them. Yin Rumei argued, and she kept telling herself to stay calm. He had to stay calm. Although these people had her personal belongings, no one could do anything to her as long as she didn't admit it. Rumei, you're so cruel. You've eaten us clean and you're not going to admit it. If we didn't have such a relationship, would I have agreed to kill them on impulse? Although I know that one of the people you want me to kill is the vice president of the Armament Guild headquarters, His Excellency Lu Feng, but for you, I still agreed. Although we have failed, you can't be so heartless. The leader of the men in black said in an excellent voice. In fact, these words were taught to him by Lu Feng. Although he was extremely nervous and afraid now, His Excellency Lu Feng had said that if he didn't say this, he would immediately send them to hell, woo woo. And that devilish man had also warned him. Rume, you can't do this to us. The other men in black also agreed in unison. You guys, Rume was so angry that she couldn't speak. Second elder, you should have received Vice President Yin's love token, right? Lu Feng looked at the second elder and asked with a smile. No, I didn't, T. The second elder was so angry that his chest heaved up and down. However, with the first elder present, he did not dare to vent his anger. Then, you should be very clear about the location of the mole on Vice President Yin's body, right? Lu Feng asked with a smile. I don't know. He didn't want to mention this matter at all, because he had never dreamed that Rume would be such a promiscuous woman. In order to achieve her own goals, she didn't hesitate to do such things with these people who licked blood on the edge of their blades. Just thinking about it made him feel dirty. At this moment, he really regretted it to death. Don't tell me you guys always turn off the lights when you do things. Lu Feng guessed. No, there's nothing going on between Vice President Yin and me. Don't listen to the nonsense that others are spouting. The second elder started to deny his relationship with Rume. How could this be? Didn't someone see it with their own eyes? Second elder, you're not being fair. You're not going to admit it after eating it clean. This isn't what a real man should do. Lu Feng criticized with some dissatisfaction. Second elder, have you forgotten what you told me? Do you want me to repeat it in front of everyone? Rume was also a little angry at second elder's words, so she blurted them out without thinking. I didn't say anything to you, don't spout nonsense. The second elder hurriedly said, and he kept giving Rume meaningful looks. Unfortunately, the furious Rume didn't care at all. You dare to say you didn't say anything? You dare to say that you didn't participate in the killing of Lu Feng? You dare say, Rume's anger seeped into her heart, and she threw away almost all of their plans. You stupid woman, shut up. I'm not familiar with you, don't frame me. Seeing this, the second elder hurriedly drew a clear line between them. At this moment, he hated Rume, this woman who failed to accomplish anything but was good at causing trouble, to death. You're so heartless, how dare you say we're not close? You haven't gotten out of my bed these past few days, and you've made so many promises to me. Do you want to go back on your word? Rume said through gritted teeth. You crazy woman, you've remembered the wrong person. Don't blame it on me. The second elder's chubby face was red as he roared in displeasure. You remembered the wrong person? Then what is this? After Rume finished speaking, she quickly rushed to the second elder's side and took out a pink female object from his chest. That object was exactly the same as the one the dozen or so black-clothed men had shown them. I picked this up. The second elder said shamelessly. His words caused Feng De and the others to burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. I didn't think that the Armament Guild's second elder would have the hobby of picking up women's personal belongings. Feng De laughed and mocked. I'm happy, what does it have to do with you? The second elder roared. It's none of my business. I'm just expressing my opinion. You don't have to mind it. Feng De said with a smile. Leng Ruoxue saw that her plan had just begun, and Rume and second elder were already in a dogfight. She didn't know what to say about their extreme cooperation. However, this also proved that an alliance maintained by improper relationships wouldn't last long. At the thought of this, Leng Ruoxue smiled and said, Grand Elder, now that the matter is clear, do you still need any other evidence? No need. The first elder took a sip of tea and looked at Leng Ruoxue with a profound look before he spoke softly. Great Elder. Rume and the second elder said in unison. They had also realized what they had just said. Damn it, they actually coaxed each other. However, they both pushed the blame to each other and stared at each other. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0 VEL. Com. Chapter 1073, The bugs and the divinity are really powerful. 1. If you have something to say, then say it. The first elder raised his eyes and said in an extremely cold tone. Great elder, we were set up. Unrume and the second elder said in unison. Oh, really? I wonder who set you up. The great elder chuckled as he looked at the two men who were struggling at death's door. He really didn't expect that these two people could be shameless to this extent. They could even blame the words that came out of their own mouths on others. This was really the case of, the most despicable person is invincible. It's them. Unrume pointed at Leng Ruoxue and the others. Lu Feng was naturally one of the people she was pointing at. Vice President Yin, you're really shameless to a certain extent. I just realized today that Ruhua is nothing compared to you. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Unrume's ability to bite back had truly reached the peak of perfection, leaving others in the dust. That's for sure. Although it's said that a great teacher produces a great disciple, Ruhua obviously can't compare to her master. He wondered how Ruhua was doing. Snatching a man from your own master, I'm sure you won't have a good end. Lu Feng agreed indifferently. Of course they won't have a good ending. With Unrume's personality, Ruhua and Yao Yuan would have died long ago. Leng Ruoxue said. Ah, so we're going to be unlucky? Lu Feng said with a face full of fear. Yup. You have to be careful and don't be alone. Otherwise, Vice President Yin will definitely send people to kill you. Leng Ruoxue reminded him out of the kindness of her heart. Her beautiful face was filled with a gloating smile. Little fox, you can't just leave me to die. Lu Feng's eyes were filled with tears as he pitifully pleaded. I can't even save myself. Don't forget that I'm also Vice President Yin's target. Leng Ruoxue said with a helpless look. Are we just going to wait for death? Lu Feng's handsome face had a trace of depression as he said in a sullen voice. No, I believe the great elder will uphold justice for us. Leng Ruoxue said calmly. Are you sure? Lu Feng said with a doubtful tone. Yes, everyone says that the Armament Guild headquarters, Great Elder is the most just. So, he definitely won't just stand by and watch us, the vulnerable group, be bullied by evil forces. Leng Ruoxue said, trying to please him. Cough cough. Leng Ruoxue's words, which were suspected of flattery, caused the first elder, who was drinking tea, to spit it out. The great elder was also helpless against their tacit cooperation. First elder looked at Leng Ruoxue helplessly and thought to himself, is this little girl really the one that my disciple has mentioned to me? Why was it different from what his disciple had said? However, this little girl is much more interesting than my disciple and those two stinky brats, hee. It's rare to meet a little girl who's pleasing to the eye, so I'll just cooperate with her. Little girl, if you have any grievances, just say it. For the sake of my grand disciple, I'll help you. However, what you say must be the truth and not lie to me. The first elder said in an extremely cautious manner. First elder, don't worry. I'm a good child. I won't lie to the elderly. Leng Ruoxue promised with a smile. Actually, what I want to say is that the words came from Vice President Yin's mouth, so why is it that she and second elder are saying that we're framing them? It doesn't seem like we're the ones who said that. Following that, Leng Ruoxue laid out the facts that everyone already knew on the table. Vice President Yin, what do you have to say about this? The first elder narrowed his eyes and looked at Unrume. First elder, I'm innocent. Unrume had nothing to say and could only plead innocence. How are you innocent? You did say those words yourself. Are you going to say that we all heard it wrong? The first elder asked curiously. I was so angry with second elder that my mind became muddled. That's why I spoke nonsense. Those words can't be taken as true. Yin Rumai's mind whirred as she tried to quibble. Yup. It's all my fault for angering Rumai, AI. Rumai, you have to change your temper. You can't just talk nonsense when you're angry. The second elder chimed in upon seeing this. The way he addressed Yin Rumai had also changed from a crazy woman to an even more affectionate Rumai. Hee hee. You guys are really following the husband's lead. Since that's the case, let's find a time to hold your wedding. The first elder said with a smile. He did not mention anything about the previous matter and the two of them quibbling. Ah. Many thanks, great elder. The second elder braced himself and said. If he refused now, the great elder might not agree. However, if his marriage with Yin Rumai could dispel the great elder's doubts, he could only follow the great elder's wishes. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm, where's Vice President Yin? Do you have any objections? The first elder asked in a democratic way. No. No, I didn't, Yin Rumai said gloomily. Although she really wanted to object, she didn't dare to disobey First Elder's wishes now. Otherwise, if First Elder made an issue out of her previous words, no one would be able to protect her. If that's the case, then your marriage will be set for tomorrow, Mo Yen. Help the second elder and Vice President Yin prepare, we must let our Armament Guild's Vice President get married in a grand manner. Furthermore, don't forget to inform all the armament masters in Fiery City to attend the wedding. The great elder was very thoughtful, and his orders did not allow anyone to refuse. Master, if the blacksmiths ask about Vice President Yin's name, what should I say? Mo Yen said awkwardly. Actually, what he wanted to ask was whether Yin Rumai had married him as a concubine or as a bed-warming servant. However, he knew that Yin Rumai wouldn't be happy with either of the two titles. You can just tell the truth, I believe the artifact masters will understand. Who asked the second elder to have a publicly acknowledged tigress in his house? The first elder said with some sympathy. Alright, master, I'll go prepare for this. Mo Yen then left the main hall. Vice President Yin, second elder, you two can stay here for today. I'm also staying here, hee hee. I have to keep a close eye on you two, in case you can't stand the loneliness before the wedding. Also, don't meet each other again before the wedding, so as not to ruin the feng shui. After Mo Yen left, the first elder said this to the second elder and Yin Rumai. By saying this, he had imprisoned the two of them separately. Chapter 1074, The bugs in the divinity are so powerful, too, yes. Yin Rumai and the second elder answered gloomily. Little girl, I'm going to borrow your place for 2 days. The first elder looked at Leng Ruoxue and smiled. There's no problem. However, I have a lot of subordinates, so I only have 1 empty room left. It's only enough for you. As for second elder and Vice President Yin, I'm afraid they'll have to stay in the servants' room. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly. Oh. It doesn't matter, they won't be staying here for long anyway, so it doesn't matter where they stay. The first elder chuckled. He was even more satisfied with Leng Ruoxue. What a smart little girl. He liked her. First elder, how can we stay in the servants' room? When the second elder heard that he had to stay in the servants' room, he immediately began to complain. If you don't want to stay, do you want me to stay there? The first elder said with a smile that was not a smile. I don't dare. What I mean is that we can ask them to give 2 rooms to Vice President Yin and me. The second elder said matter-of-factly. Oh. Then you can talk to that girl yourself. First elder nodded. Yes, immediately clear out 2 rooms for Vice Guild Leader Yin and me. The second elder nodded and ordered Leng Ruoxue arrogantly. Unfortunately, Leng Ruoxue couldn't even be bothered to look at him, let alone acknowledge him. Second elder, we are enemies. What reason do you think we have to give you a room? Feng De asked with a smile. Perhaps he was too ignorant. He thought he had seen many humans, but this was the first time he had seen people like Second Elder and Unrivaled. They were truly strange. Just because in the Armament Guild's Second Elder, isn't this reason enough? The Second Elder said angrily. What does that have to do with us? Fengde was a little speechless. They weren't from the Armament Guild headquarters, so who would care who you were? The place you're living in now belongs to the Craftsman's Guild. You dare to disobey my orders? The Second Elder roared in anger. Second Elder, have you overindulged in your desires? Are you still sleeping? Look carefully, this place belongs to my young miss. Do you want me to show you the house deed? Although this courtyard belonged to the Craftsman's Guild, Mo Yen had already transferred it to his miss name as compensation for Ling Xiaoyu's house being occupied. The Second Elder was so angry at Fengde that his face turned red and his neck became thick. He stammered for a long time, but he couldn't even say a complete sentence. Second Elder, we're guests, so we have to listen to the host's arrangements. Don't be so calculative. You're only staying for one night anyway. The First Elder indifferently advised. All right then. Find me the best servant's room, I want the cleanest one. Seeing that the First Elder had spoken, the Second Elder naturally did not dare to continue arguing over this matter, so he could only take a step back and settle for the second best. I'm sorry, Second Elder. There's only one servant's room left. May I know which one of you or Vice President Yin will be staying there? At this time, the butler who had been hiding in the corner couldn't help but speak. What? And who are you? What? The Second Elder was furious and immediately questioned him. I'm the butler. I'm in charge of the guests' accommodation. The butler said politely. Where do you want me and Vice President Yin to stay? The Second Elder shouted with wide eyes. One of you can stay in the servant's room, while the other can only stay in the utility room. Of course, you can also set up a tent in the courtyard. The butler gave them multiple choices, allowing the Second Elder and Vice President Yin to decide. Set up a tent for me. I'd rather live in the courtyard. The Second Elder said after some thought. Sure, but you have to prepare your own tent. We're not providing it. The butler continued. You. Good. I'll prepare my own. The Second Elder's heart was burning with anger. However, in front of the Great Elder, he didn't dare to go too far. In addition to the previous incident, he always felt that the Great Elder had something on him, so he was even more careful in his words and actions. What about Vice President Yin? The butler asked again. Please keep reading 0 and MYB 0xN0VEL. Calm, I'll stay in the tent too. Unrivaled said, suppressing her anger. Alright, then please hand over your tents to me. I'll send someone to set them up for you. The butler said with a smile. Here you go. The two of them took out their tents from their rings and threw them to the butler angrily. The butler took the tent and was about to leave this troublesome place, but he was stopped by someone. Wait, the First Elder said indifferently. Ah. Do you have any instructions for me? The head butler said respectfully. His attitude towards the First Elder was completely different from how he had treated the Second Elder and Unrivaled. Butler, move their tents further away from each other. Their wedding is tomorrow, so don't let them see each other before the wedding. The Grand Elder instructed. Yes. The butler replied and left with the tent. Not long after, the butler returned to the main hall and said to the Second Elder and Unrivaled, your tents have been set up. Hee hee. Since that's the case, let's go take a look at the Second Elder and Vice President Yin's new residence. The First Elder said excitedly. Then, he ordered the butler to lead the way and left the main hall first. Of course, he also took the Second Elder and Unrivaled away with him. Miss, should we go? Fengde said, eager to try. If you want to go, then go. She was tired and wanted to go back to rest. Although she didn't manage to deal with Een Rume and Second Elder as she had hoped, she believed that the good show was yet to come. With that, Len Ruoxue pulled the evildoer back to their room. However, she was stopped by Lu Feng. "Little fox, aren't you depressed?" Lu Feng said unhappily. That damn old man, there was clear evidence, but he still didn't immediately deal with that adulterous couple. He was really infuriated. "What's there to be depressed about? Don't you think it's interesting? It's Een Rume's big day tomorrow, so we still have to show our support. Have an early rest." Len Ruoxue consoled, "You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."